It is now 6:30. We will call the August 6th Dayton Planning Commission meeting to order. First item of business is Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call tonight. We have
You got that guy?
yeah, do we want them to say their names for
Sure.
the AI?
Yep.
Keith Grover.
Jeff Sargent.
Peter Demuth. And absent, we have Paul Crossland and Darren Brown. So,
Thank you.
swearing in of commissioners, that, I believe that
Oh,
was.
yeah, forgot to take that off.
That was last month, so that'll be, we'll correct that under approval of agenda. Role of the planning commission is listed on the sheet. Consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, if you give me.
Oh, approval of agenda.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I skipped over the one that I was, so we'll correct,
Yep.
any other corrections to the agenda, John?
Nope.
All right.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda with the corrections.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Consent agenda, only item on there is planning commission minutes from July 9th.
I move to approve the Planning Commission minutes of July 9th, 2026.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Open forum. Open forum is public comments limited to 3 minutes for non-agenda items. Is there anyone here for open forum? All right. We'll move on to item 7, council update.
Okay, so July 14th, we had a long-term plan work session that just kind of went over the next couple of years worth of items that were being requested by various departments. There was some discussion about the community survey. Didn't seem like there were a lot of surprises in it, but we had a lot of discussion about it anyways. Vehicle use policy, there was, staff has been putting together various policies lately just to kind of catch up. And so this was one of those policies. There was some adjustments we made, but it went through. Same with the employee recognition program policy. I think the concern there was we didn't really have a good policy before, and so this actually puts a cap and how the money distributed amongst the departments. And then there was some closed sessions regarding property negotiation and an employee discussion. So that was July 14th, July 28th. Work session on the Fortune Concept Plan, which you guys attended, and the setbacks. The moratoriums, neither one were passed on. One of them we tabled, but I'm sure it's going to get, it's not going to go anywhere because we ended up hiring somebody. And the other one, we did come to a conclusion on the setbacks for the boundary between residential and non-residential, came up with 20 feet, which, yeah. And then we had a discussion on, it was really kind of an information session on the condemnation process for hazardous buildings. There's a few downtown that staff is starting to communicate with the property owners over. We awarded the contract for the access road on the south side of Dayton Parkway, on the other side of the interchange. There was another policy approval, travel and food policy, ordinance amendment on the confusion or the invalid table entry. The decision was to go with a conditional use if the building size was over 1,000 feet, 1,000 square feet. Discussion on Stevens Park Phase 3, or at least part of that. It was really a discussion about getting a shelter over the stage. We've had this discussion a number of times. This was to kind of get bids on the work. Most of it involved cement and the sidewalk. And then there was a discussion on mayor and council pay. That one went back to staff to kind of work out something that looks, that should be fair given the amount of extra meetings that we've been having, work sessions and whatnot. And then there was some closed session discussions. That was it.
All right, any questions or clarifications? Moving on to item 8A, public hearing for preliminary plat and ED of Sundance Greens and Sundance Greens 12th edition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is, I think, the third time the Planning Commission has seen this, so I'm kind of going to breeze over the history of it and then get into kind of where we left off last month. So this is applications for a zoning map amendment, a plan unit development amendment, and as well as preliminary plat approval of the 12th edition. So Sundance Greens was reviewed as a concept plan in 2017 that included 670 units, as well as preservation of a 9-hole golf course, so as known as Sundance. The current project for the 12th edition is kind of in the north corner. The preliminary plat was approved in 2018 that included 563 units for both a single family and attached single family. For the preliminary plat amendment, the plat that came in for the 12th edition is a little different than what was approved in 2018. There's a reduction from 58 lots to 48 lots, as well as a reconfiguration of the street. Staff felt that that was enough of a change that it warranted an amendment to the original preliminary plat as well as the plan unit development. So, and I'll pause and ask if there's any questions related to the plat itself. So I think at the last discussion last month, the commission said that they were fine with the residential portion of the plat.
Yeah, just for clarification's sake, in the original plat, the underlaying, the neighborhood from the north would be able to directly access 113th, and now it's going to go through.
Yes, so, yes. It's difficult to see on the screen. The blue lines is what was approved in 2018, and then the black lines is what is being proposed today. So, Peter, as you mentioned, there would have been a direct access from Brayburn Trails down to 113th, and now that changes and would go through DCM Farms.
And that's going to go through, and at the time when this was brought through, DCM Farms obviously wasn't.
What was not part of the project?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so no questions on the plat. So the second application is for the zoning map amendment. So this was missed previously when I was doing the review. So as I was writing the staff report for last month, came under the realization that the zoning map was incorrect. So in 2018, the portion of the golf course that was to be developed was rezoned from public recreation to R3 residential with a PUD overlay. Because we're changing the layout of the plat, the zoning has to match, and it did not last month. That led to the Planning Commission tabling this item in July. We republished the public hearing notice and sent out new mailers. Are there any questions related to the zoning, the rezoning?
There's somebody online that has a that.
We will open public comments later when this is open for tables.
Okay.
Or for discussion. Yeah, I got one question, John, as it relates to the zoning and how that affects the comp plan. And does that affect, is there anything there that would be affected by this?
The
size?
intention, well, so the intention of the comprehensive plan is that the zoning is consistent with that, and as the commission probably knows, it often is not.
Right.
And I'd have to look at a comp plan map. My guess is that the golf course is guided as, I'm going to say, whatever the version is of public recreation.
Yep.
So there's going to be a portion of this that is inconsistent with the comp plan, and that's not unusual. We have inconsistencies throughout the city.
And I guess maybe where my question is on that is there a benefit, and benefit might be the wrong word, but it looks like we're zoning more acres into the public recreation than we are going the other way around. And
Yes.
so our net density calculation changes, right? So that may be a benefit for us?
It's really not going to, so when we rewrite the 2050 comprehensive plan, like everything that's happening now is going to get thrown out.
Okay.
So it really, there's not necessarily a benefit today because we're going to be rewriting it within 2 years.
Okay. Because it appears we're taking I'd say roughly 4 acres out of,
The residential.
Residential.
putting it into-
yep. And whatever the rule is for density calculations, this seems to help that by creating more open space, but just in my head, if that makes
It's a
sense.
wash, since we would have put houses on that, it looks like 3.5 or 3 per
Yeah.
acre or something.
Yeah, it's probably a wash. Okay.
Okay. So no questions on the zoning map amendment? No? Okay. Moving along to the plan unit development. So plan unit development, I should say, back in 2018, this was required to be a plan unit development because it was within a Greenway overlay district. With the plan unit development, it allows flexibility from the city code restrictions, or I'll use the term deviations from the city code requirements in return for a public benefit. The deviations back in 2018, and just to summarize this, were smaller lots, smaller setbacks, and preservation of the golf course. Benefits, and again, this is what was stated in 2018, was the variety in lot sizes and houses, preservation of the golf course and open space, extensive landscaping, HOA amenities, and enhanced entries. Specific to the maintenance building, because I think that is the majority of this conversation. In 2018, it was proposed for the maintenance building to move from its I'm going to refer to it as the current location, although that building was torn down recently, and then would move to the north area. I'll say on the plans that were written or approved in 2018, it does show a building there. It does not necessarily called out as a maintenance building. Here's the building. So it is the kind of the red rectangular that's up in the north part of the section, and then we have architectural renderings of the four sides of the building. Again, and it's difficult to see on the screen, the proposed setbacks are 20 feet for, okay. So this is the proposed maintenance building. The building itself is proposed to be 30 feet setback from the property line, and then 20 feet setback from the property line would be this retaining wall, and then a paved area behind the building. And then there's a planned 20-foot wide driveway that goes to Polaris Lane with 5-foot setbacks to the two residential property lines. Within the public recreational district, the minimum setback is 50 feet, so this is both for parking and as well as buildings. Again, what is being proposed as a deviation would be a 30-foot setback for the building and a 20-foot setback for parking. And when I say parking, what I mean is the paved area that's behind the building, so whether that's used as parking or just access. PUD for the maintenance shed, so it's difficult to see here. This is a panoramic photo that's approximately, well, it's from the pedestrian trail looking towards where the maintenance building is. So the maintenance building would be somewhere in this area. And then we have another view from south of where the maintenance building would be, looking towards the homes in Brayburn. And then I've got a couple public comments, so once we get there. Questions for staff?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. First, to acknowledge that we got an opinion from the city attorney regarding that building that could be presumably associated with the maintenance building or maintenance shed in the north, or where the current proposed location is. That opinion, in my estimate, is saying that that location was approved in 2018 per resolution 23-2018, which was granting preliminary plat and general development plan PUD approval of the Sundance Greens. It doesn't obviously say that it was a maintenance building. It doesn't show exact setbacks, heights, dimensions, access to that building. It just says the location in this general area was approved through the planning process back in 2018. A couple questions I have regarding that. Number one, is it staff's opinion that that suffices, or would staff have an opinion that a site plan approval would have been needed in 2018 to solidify the approval of that building in that location?
I'd have to go back to the 2018 zoning code, and I couldn't give you a definitive. I don't know when the last time we changed that section of the code, if it's still the same today as it was in 2018.
As in if a site plan approval would have been needed? Okay. Second question I had kind of regarding this whole thing is that you mentioned earlier that we are here tonight in part because of the amendment to the Sundance Green 12 edition plat, essentially saying that we're going from 58 to 48 lots, and there's a street reconfiguration. Those are the changes that are being asked for tonight in order to even have this meeting that we're sitting here tonight for, correct?
Yes, and
So,
yes.
Yeah, I guess the second part of that question would be, the main part of that question would be, if the developer was not seeking either of those amendments, would we even be discussing the location of the maintenance shed?
We would be doing a site plan review. And so with the site plan, it does look at the location. We would look at what was approved in 2018. And my interpretation is we can require, as a PUD, reasonable changes. So, generally speaking, the plans that we've looked at from 2018, I mean, they show, it's very broad. They show hundreds of acres. So the question of how far back was the building setback? Was it 20 feet or was it 21 feet? I don't know. There's reasonable things that we would require, such as the appearance of the building and landscaping.
So would this maintenance shed need to have a formal site plan review and approval, or is that taken care of through the PUD process?
Today, it's taken care of through the PUD process.
Question regarding the PUD process, and this is more for public knowledge too, is the fact that you indicated that the PUD allows for deviations from the code in turn for public benefit, and you listed the public benefit. Those deviations, are they variances or are they deviations from the code?
I would say it's similar to a variance, but it doesn't require the same level of justification.
So in order for us to approve deviations from the plan unit development, we don't need to satisfy the requirements that would normally have to be satisfied through approving a variance?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have for now, thanks.
Keith, do you have any additional questions? I think I answered mine during the presentation. So we did table this at the July 9th meeting. This is a continuation of that public hearing. So I will call that open at 6:51. Public hearing is now open. Please state your name, address, and then we're going to limit to about 3 minutes. And I know several of you spoke at the last time this continuation was open. I'm going to allow you to speak again, but please try to refrain from repeat comments.
Thank you.
My name is Gary Feldhage, and I live at 11637 Niagara Lane North. Good evening. I respectfully submit for the record a petition signed by 144 residents of Brayburn Trails who oppose the proposed relocation of the Sundance Golf Course Maintenance Facility. I would like to briefly speak to the concerns represented by the residents who signed this petition. But first, please allow me to read the petition into the record. Petition, quote, "We, the undersigned residents of Brayburn Trails, Dayton, respectfully oppose the proposed relocation of the Sundance Golf Course Maintenance Facility adjacent to our residential community and oppose any access or driveway variance required to accommodate that relocation. We believe that placing a golf course maintenance facility next to existing homes would introduce additional traffic, noise, lighting, chemical and petroleum product storage and use, and maintenance operations that could negatively affect property values, quality of life, and the character of our neighborhood. Changes benefiting a developer should not create unintended negative impacts on an existing neighborhood. We respectfully urge the Dayton Planning Commission and City Council to deny the proposed relocation and any requested driveway or access variance, and to protect existing residential neighborhoods from incompatible land uses." End quote. These signatures are not just names on a petition. They represent the people who chose to make Dayton, specifically Brayburn Trails, their home. We have put down roots here. We raise our families here, educate our children here, worship here, volunteer here, and serve the Dayton community in many ways. We pay the taxes that support this city, and we share a common interest in protecting the quality of life that brought us here. 8 years ago, when the plan was created, the Brayburn Trails community did not exist. The residents who now live immediately adjacent to this proposed maintenance facility had no opportunity to participate in the public process because we were not yet part of this community. Today, we are here. We are your residents, your constituents, your neighbors. That is why I find it difficult to believe that this relocation was ever approved with a full understanding that it would one day be located directly next to an established residential neighborhood. If the commission at that time had possessed the benefit of today's information and the neighborhood that now exists, I do not believe they would have knowingly approved placing an industrial maintenance operation immediately adjacent to people's homes. The applicant is requesting amendments to the PDU and preliminary plat, which acknowledge that the original plan can be changed. If the plan can be amended to meet the applicant's objectives, it can also be amended to better protect the residents who now live in Brayburn Trails. Today, you have the responsibility to evaluate this proposal based on the community that exists today, not the vacant land that existed 8 years ago. Finally, I ask the Commission to apply its own ordinance. Section 1002.05 of the City's Zoning and Subdivision Code states that the Commission shall recommend denial of a preliminary plat if the design of the subdivision or the type of improvements will be detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of the public. The question before you is not whether this facility appeared on a preliminary plan 8 years ago. The question is whether placing a golf course maintenance facility next to an established residential neighborhood today protects the health, safety, and general welfare of the residents who live there. I respectfully ask you to evaluate this application based on today's conditions and impacts, not on what may have been contemplated before our neighborhood existed. On behalf of the 144 Brayburn Trails residents who signed this petition, I respectfully ask you to deny this proposed relocation. Thank you for your time and your service to this community.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. My name's Kathy Johnson. I live at 11532 Brayburn Trails. My family lives adjacent to the proposed location of the golf course maintenance facility. We'd like to recognize Sundance's investment in the golf course and the need for operational facilities. And our request is not to prevent those improvements, but to ensure that they are located in a manner that is compatible with the surrounding residential properties and does not place an unreasonable hardship on nearby homeowners. As I've mentioned before, we've invested in our home and our landscaping and our outdoor living spaces with the expectation of a peaceful residential environment. Like many homeowners, we made these investments trusting that the city's planning process and ordinances would protect the character of established neighborhoods. A maintenance facility located only 75 feet from our property line would fundamentally change that environment for us and would introduce daily noise, security lighting, commercial activity, and early morning operations directly adjacent to our home. And those impacts would be every day. To put that proximity into perspective, from inside our bedroom, even with the windows closed now, we can hear the distinct crack of a golf club striking a golf ball. And on occasion, that sound alone has even woken me up in the morning. Those are the sounds we accepted when we chose to live next to a golf course. But they also illustrate just how close our home is to the proposed site. If we can hear a single golf ball being struck from inside our home, it's reasonable to be concerned about the impact of daily maintenance operations, including equipment and trucks and backup alarms and early morning activity, 75 feet from us. Under the city's zoning and planned unit development standards, the commission is asked to determine whether a proposal is compatible with surrounding land uses and consistent with the character of the neighborhood and free from detrimental effects on nearby properties. So the question is not whether the maintenance facility should be relocated. The question is whether it should be relocated to a site 75 feet from existing homes, when other locations may be available. In our view, the issue is the location itself. Landscaping, berms, screening, or operational restrictions may lessen some impacts, but they cannot change the fact that an industrial maintenance facility would be operating immediately next to established homes. The most effective way to protect neighboring residents is to choose a location that creates greater separation between the facility and residents. Throughout this process, much has been said about the investments Sundance has made in improving the golf course. We respect those investments. We simply ask that they not outweigh the investments that families have made in their homes and in this community. Homeowners have also made significant financial and personal investments based on the expectation that this neighborhood would remain compatible with the uses surrounding it. The golf course has choices about where to locate its maintenance facility. We do not have a choice about where our home sits. We simply ask that the burden of this relocation not be placed almost entirely on the families who already live here. We respectfully ask that if the maintenance facility is relocated, it's relocated in a location that better protects homeowners while still allowing the golf course to operate successfully. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Suppold, 11534 Brayburn Trail. Good evening. My property is 70 feet from the proposed building site. As you can imagine, this whole situation has been quite stressful and frustrating. It's especially frustrating because I reached out to city representation to make an informed decision and to avoid this exact scenario before purchasing my home in July of 2020. I sent an email to then City Administrator Tina Goodroad and then Associate Planner Alec Henderson on June 28th of 2020. I told them my now wife and I were considering a lot in Brayburn Trails. I clearly identified what I was asking for and where I was asking about. I quote, "Any information available about the proposed and approved development projects involving and surrounding Sundance Golf Course." I reiterate, I asked about approved. I identified why I was asking, and to quote, "To have a good idea of what to expect with future plans before making our decision, since the green space is one of the more alluring features of this specific lot." Mr. Henderson wrote back with a thorough description of both developments, Sundance Greens and Brayburn Trails, and attached those plans. He told me the course would eventually be redone to 9 holes, and in his words, that the course will remain within the existing footprint of the existing golf course. My last email was to confirm accuracy, and it was confirmed the Sundance Greens rendering he provided me was accurate. This is the same rendering hanging in the back of City Hall. Nowhere in this email exchange is there any mention of or diagrams showing a maintenance building. No structure on the golf course, no driveway from Polaris Lane. The applicant has said publicly that it isn't his fault if buyers fail to check what was planned here. I checked. I asked the city planner and the city administrator. 2 people in the room during the March 28th, 2018 City Council meeting where the Resolution 23-2018 was approved. That's the approval the applicant claims covered this building. 2 years later, when I asked, neither one mentioned the building and neither had any reason to mislead me. If there's a more diligent way for a home buyer to check, I don't know what it is. We made our purchase decision on the strength of an email from the city planner, and now 6 years later I'm here because a commercial building is proposed less than 100 feet away, and I'm being told it was approved before I ever asked. This isn't the only time I've been provided plans absent of any indication of a maintenance building or driveway from Polaris Lane. I have email correspondence from current city administrator Zach Dowd resulting from an email initiated May 30th of 2023 due to zoning discrepancies that surfaced. With this, I asked if he was able to provide the most up-to-date plans or proposals for development of and or around Sundance Golf Course, most specifically areas that will connect to or be adjacent to Brayburn Trails. Our exchange of emails resulted in 2 renderings of Sundance Greens, neither depicting a maintenance building or driveway, and him concluding that the rendering in the hallway entering City Hall was correct, the same rendering Mr. Henderson provided me in 2020. The message has been consistent, that message being there was no approved plans for a maintenance building or driveway at the proposed location. Why would plans of a maintenance building not be disclosed? I believe the most reasonable explanation is that there was nothing to disclose because no maintenance building had been approved. I believe city records support this. There's one and only one critical place to look. The City Council meeting held on March 28, 2018, yielding the approval of Resolution Number 23-2018. The document itself identified as a resolution granting preliminary plot and general development plan unit development for Sundance Greens. A maintenance building is not listed in the findings or the conditions of the decision. Item H of the findings listing allowed deviations from underlying zoning requirements does not identify an exemption from requiring a CUP for an accessory building, allowing a second street access driveway on a parcel, or the building setback deviation being presented tonight. There is no explicit identification of such maintenance building approval. What Resolution Number 23-2018 identifies in both the findings and decision is Campion Engineering plans dated January 5, 2018, as the plans reviewed and approved. Upon my review of this meeting packet, there are 5 architectural sheets included that match the Campion Engineering Services, Inc. and January 5th, 2018 draft date, none of which show a maintenance building. It is noted that 8 landscape plans drafted by Pioneer Engineering, drafted 2/21 of 18, are included, but there's a key street and neighborhood configuration discrepancy that is inconsistent with what has been referenced as the approved design consistently since 2018. The configuration does not account for, in those plans, what is identified as Outlot R, the proposed park area. The Campion plans accurately display it. This critical design difference and the fact they are not referenced as approved plans in Resolution Number 23-2018 means it cannot reasonably be assumed they, or the identified square on them, were intended to be included in the approval. I will point out the same error was included in the slide deck tonight on one of the slides. And then there's a discrepancy in the outline of the blue on the second slide, that's on the following slide. I believe before you tonight is still a PUD amendment to include a maintenance building and driveway from Polaris Lane, just as was determined in March. While the design may look different, it's just still a bad design, and if it were the original proposal, I don't feel it represents an improved design to the golf course. There are better designs that utilize other locations facilitated in part by the proposed home site and street layout reconfiguration. Some of these designs were presented previously in a packet prepared by my neighbor Bruce. For this reason, I do support approval of the preliminary plot amendment specific to the neighborhood configuration that facilitates a more appropriate maintenance building site elsewhere than where is proposed. It is not the responsibility of this commission to create conditions that make this site work for the applicant if it does not otherwise fit because of his own development decisions. I respectfully request this commission recommend denial of the maintenance building PUD amendment. If approval is considered, then consider the following. The building and its use is not compatible with the surrounding development, and therefore setback relief from 50 feet to 30 feet is not acceptable. The second driveway is unlike any other second driveway in Dayton. It's a commercial driveway running between 2 homes and is also unacceptable, much less with only a 5-foot setback. Allowing a reduction in parking setback from 20 feet to 50 feet, or from 50 feet to 20 feet is also not acceptable. I have all the documents supporting what I have stated tonight, and I would like to respectfully hand this over for the record. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ronald Swenson, 11270 Niagara Lane. I realize that tonight the focus is on the northeast corner of the golf course and the maintenance shed question. However, myself and several neighbors, we live down in the southeast corner adjacent to the parking lot. And we're just a little confused or want some clarification because in the diagram there are still lot lines extending from the new proposed plat all the way down to 113 and into the parking lot. But if you read between the lines, it says existing parking and future parking. So simple question is, what's going to be the final configuration? Is the parking lot going to expand, or are these lot lines going to be built out at some point? And that's just a simple question that we'd like to hear clarified tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Natalie Miller, 11529 Polaris Lane. So I actually, in looking at this, have, I obviously do not want this near my property. However, I've lived in 3 communities within Dayton. I lived first in Sundance Woods. I lived second in River Hills. I moved down to Georgia and I came back and I chose Brayburn Trails and the lot that I chose specifically, and I did ask all of the same questions that our neighbors have asked. Out of there, I did not contact the city in this case. However, the one thing I do want to call out is the one reason I've always loved Dayton is because of Elm Creek. And if you think about Sundance Woods, Rush Creek Parkway, and all of the amenities that were given in Sundance Woods for the trails, for the systems, for the parks, right? That is what was done. Same thing with River Hills, right? The trails, the system, the parks. Now, I am a road cyclist. So what does that mean for me? When I look at what has been done, when I purchased my home, they told me it was going to go through to 113th. So for me, I need easy access to the Elm Creek, right? I don't get that now. I'm going to have to wind, which is what I have to do right now, is I have to wind through all of this neighborhood to finally get over to Rush Creek Parkway, because there isn't even a single good pathway, not a trail system that I can be on safely. I have to be on the residential streets, and now you're basically making part of your ask is to make part of this non-residential and to make it commercial. And there is no clear path for me to get there safely. So part of this for me is not just the fact that you're putting something close to my neighbors, you're putting it close to me and my neighbors, and I will have to look at this through my back porch and deck and everything. But it's the fact that even the change in the reconfiguration, that means that traffic is going to be coming right in front of my house. Commercial traffic, besides your Amazon drivers, is going to be right in front of my house. And as a cyclist, again, a road cyclist, I don't have a path through in a clean way. There isn't anything along Fernbrook. You can't safely really bike along Fernbrook. So I choose to bike along the city internal streets. And like I said, Sundance Wood designed really nicely for that reason, to keep the kids safe, to keep the community safe. Same thing with River Hills. When I look at this, I don't feel like we've been given those same options. It really feels like the preference has been given to Sundance Greens for even how our communities connect. And again, this is about Dayton, how we all connect together. And I purchased my home. I could have been anywhere in the Twin Cities, and I chose to come back here because I love the parks and I love the systems that we have here. So I do not want this near my home. I would honestly love a better configuration that would make it safer and that would provide accessibility for our community. Because if you look at this, we're being actually prevented to have a nice path even through to partake in Sundance. So I just, like I said, I just don't think it's really beneficial, and we're really kind of being almost like pushed and isolated because of this. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, we do have one person online also.
Yeah. I was gonna, and Tom, I think I'll close the public hearing before I invite you up. Just.
Bruce, if you could speak.
Thank you. Bruce Gardner, 11521 Polaris Lane. My written comments are already in the record. We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, Bruce. Let me try something here.
To the podium.
Okay. Oh, it's all the way up. Okay, Bruce, we're going to do what we can. Okay, go ahead.
Is my volume acceptable?
It's good enough.
I can hear it at the podium, so.
Okay.
My written comments are already in the record, so I won't repeat every ordinance citation, but I'll be talking mainly about the PUD section of the zoning code. I can see why Tom believes the building's already been approved. It shows up on a lot of the drawings in the 2018 submission. But whether or not the council already okayed the building in principle or just overlooked it, it still has to conform to the PUD ordinance as it applies now. The problem is, how can the city make the findings that its own PUD ordinance requires about this driveway? Subdivision 3 of the PUD code, the general standards for approval, says a PUD can only be approved if it meets every one of 7 standards, and then they're listed. Clause C wants the PUD to harmonize with any existing or proposed development in the areas surrounding the project site, and says, quote, the development shall not have a detrimental effect on the neighborhood. The word harmony in there matters because it's what the ordinance intends. Detriments are the opposite. Clause D says the transition from the driveway to the residential properties on either side have to keep with the character of the adjacent land use. Clause F says relief from ordinances need to be supported by public benefits. And Clause G requires that the development not place an excessive burden on streets, Polaris Lane in this case. Every standard has to be satisfied separately. Each requires a finding. Each standard is mandatory, not discretionary, not just guidance or a suggestion. The draft resolution includes some findings, but not for clauses C, D, F, and G of the PUD Code Subdivision 3. The ordinance requires those findings. Now, I'm going to argue that this driveway hasn't satisfied any of those 4 clauses under a plain language reading of the ordinance. I'm not trying to give you my opinion. The ordinance says the city may approve it only if every required finding is made. If I'm wrong, please explain why on the record. The corridor's dimensions create the problem. The driveway wants to be 20 feet wide. The corridor is 24 feet wide, and that leaves just a couple of feet on either side. Now, a new drawing appeared for the first time in your meeting packet, and it shows that the corridor is 30 feet wide. I can't see how the corridor got 6 feet wider because the property lines that make the corridor haven't changed according to the plat that's also in your packet. So this needs to be cleared up before you act. Otherwise, if it's a mistake, the consequences might land on us. 5 feet between 2 residential driveways is a normal separation between homeowners. Not enough for a meaningful buffer or transition between a commercial purpose driveway and residential property. But the discrepancy between the 2 versions of the corridor's width does show that the proposed setback is nothing but the leftovers in the corridor, not a reasonable distance based on either an ordinance or an assessment of what's appropriate. Nothing can cure this commercial driveway's detrimental proximity to residential properties, and that's about as succinct a description of what's wrong as I can give. And has the city determined whether the driveway will even work? What about the usual swept path analysis showing what trucks and trailers can get in and out of there without running over the neighbor's property? And the plan doesn't show the hammerhead turnaround that's required by code for all driveways longer than 150 feet, including this one. The radius, apron, and setback requirements in the code haven't been addressed. These aren't minor engineering details to be dealt with after the fact. They determine whether this driveway actually works. And if left for later, after the land has been officially made a driveway, who's going to tell the landowner how he can use it? They should be looked at as deviations or conditions on the record. The code requires you make a finding that this proposal won't burden the use of Polaris Lane. The building's ordinary purpose should determine that, not the applicant's stated intentions. If the city's ordinances don't cover what's here, that shouldn't mean more leeway for the applicant. Only agriculture and residential zoning districts have driveway setback ordinances in the Dayton Code Book. 5 feet for residential, 10 for agriculture. If the city could pick and choose from the ordinances that apply to other zoning, then this driveway is obviously more like agriculture than anything else on Polaris Lane. But it can't. Why can't the city simply apply the residential setback and call it a deviation? Well, the reason it can't is stated plainly in the PUD ordinance under subdivision 1, quote, "This section may allow deviations under appropriate circumstances to underlying ordinance provisions." And it goes on to say that only public benefits mitigate the deviations. A plain reading of this second part clearly connects the deviation to a benefit derived from it, not to other benefits or other deviations or benefits already gained. But the power to grant a deviation requires an ordinance to deviate from. What the city proposes to do in this case isn't a deviation, it's actually writing an ordinance and tailoring it to a single applicant's purposes in order to rationalize a setback consisting of whatever happens to be left over. The absence of a specific setback ordinance doesn't mean the city gets to write a de facto ordinance on the fly to avoid the mandatory PUD findings that are named by the PUD ordinance. To approve this application, the city has to find that maintenance building and its driveway are not detrimental. That's the plain meaning of the ordinance. If this is the city's findings, I believe we need to hear that said out loud on the record, because I can't believe it. This plan has neighborhood detriment written all over it. A missing ordinance doesn't mean anything goes. It means the PUD standards have to do the work they were created to do. The problem with this driveway has been there since the beginning. The corridor is too narrow because that's how it was designed. Removing lot 1 would create space for real setbacks, berms, and screening. That's the applicant's decision. If he won't do that, it's his choice, but he's weighing his financial interests against the detrimental consequences. And if you look through the entire Dayton code book, you won't find one ordinance that supports that. Why do the consequences of those choices have to land on us? Especially when no new public benefit's been identified. The PUD ordinance allows deviation from ordinances when public benefits mitigate them. What's the new public benefit of placing this maintenance driveway between two residential properties? Some might say the benefits of the whole PUD, but the city already has them. It looks to me like the deal as proposed gets the city less benefit than it started with. Lastly, I need to come back to this word detriment again briefly. The words in an ordinance ought to be interpreted using plain language, so the dictionary definition of an ordinary word in an ordinance is what it means. Detriment means harmful. In this case, the ordinance gives us a word on the opposite end to compare detriment to, and the word is harmony. The opposite of harmony are words like incompatibility, intrusion, disruption. These words describe what we're upset about. And if the city approves this, there's no way to take it back. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. All right.
Hold on 1 second. Okay.
All right, if there are not yet.
Okay.
All right. With that, I will close the.
There we go.
Thank you.
First of all, thanks for doing what you do for this commission.
Nate.
Brian, could you?
My name, closer? My
No,
name's,
if you could, yeah, go ahead.
my name's Brian Allen. I live at 11671 Zachary Lane, Dayton, Minnesota. I'm partners with Tom Dean in Sundance Development. I'm also a primary manager at Sundance. My family has, I've been part of Sundance in ownership or working there since 1979 when my family bought this property. So currently, as a primary manager and partner with Tom, we've always tried to be good neighbors. I feel working with Tom over all the years, knowing him since 2008, he's always been backwards. He's always tried to do the best thing for whatever developments he's done. I feel at Sundance, we've always tried to be good neighbors. We've tolerated bikes using our cart paths, joggers using our cart paths, our property being used as a dog park property being used as a softball field. Our sand trap's being used as a beach to make sandcastles. And I don't know if you can check with the city, I don't think we've ever called and complained about it. We've actually even reconfigured our golf course when we first started for Mrs. Johnson. We had a tee box that played out for our par 5 hole. And if anybody knows anything about golf, par 5 hole is a very important piece of the course. And we moved our tee box up for her and turned it into a crappy little par 4 now. So I just feel like we've always tried to be a good neighbor. And unless we make this maintenance shop invisible, someone's not going to like where it's at. So, and as far as the comments with commercial traffic, I'm not sure what commercial traffic they're referring to, but all of our food deliveries, all of our beer deliveries, all of our equipment deliveries are always up at the clubhouse. Nothing ever gets delivered down to the maintenance shop. So I'll leave with that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:26. Tom, if you'd like to come forward, and I guess, Brian, I didn't realize, part of the operation, it might be beneficial to pull you back up in a little bit, but if Tom can't answer to them, questions I have on that.
Hi, Tom Dean, 11261 Ferber Lane, Dayton. I also have Jake Skeen with me. I just feel like he can maybe help on some of the legality questions. And then I'm not really here to, if you have some questions, I think many of the things have been addressed. I understand the neighbors' concerns. I agree with Brian that we've tried to be neighborly. And so one of the things as I'll get a little bit further is I'd like to leave each of you this here, I believe is on page 23 of Resolution 2318. And so they ask why some of the changes are. And if you notice staff recommendations, that's part of it. All council members saw that. It would have been in their packet just like you guys received. And so if you look at recommendations, there's nothing with the maintenance building. And on the maintenance building, I think any time before we come to one of these meetings, there's a lot of meetings with staff right across the hall in that room. And I had many meetings, this was a big thing at the time on a PUD, and many meetings with Alec, many meetings with Tina, all together, staff. Jason, you were probably in them. Some of them, not all of them when you talk to engineering, but one of the things is we asked about that maintenance building, and basically I was told I just need to get a building permit. They've left it with me. I could put up a regular pole shed, okay? It's part of the golf course. So, I think if you look, it was like a given. And so, of course, it wasn't going to come up in a meeting. And I knew we were building houses, too, that are going to look at it. I'm going to have $1 million+ houses looking at this building. So it's not like I'm disregarding the neighbors and not thinking about myself. And so we're building a nice building. We've tried to accommodate with architecture, keeping it lower. Since it initially came, we opted to swap the building. The only reason I want 30-foot setback is because we put the doors to the south versus we were at the 50-foot setback initially. Off the last site plan updated, we took and lowered the building another foot and also moved it 20 feet to the east just to try to get it more into that wetland area with less homes behind it. But at the finished product of the golf course, when it's done, there's 1,665 feet of golf course frontage. We're talking about 100. That's 6%. Right? So we have tried to maintain, as much open space as we can. We're willing to do whatever screening there is, required. I've just by chance, the developer talked to me. They called because they heard the development was coming through from the HOA, and they're excited because they get their last lot in there. So, I asked at that time, I said, do did you ever promise that there wasn't any buildings in there? Because we had a lot of discussions on this going through. That development wouldn't be there if I wasn't neighborly to allow the sewer pipe to go through. And they all strongly say that they never promised anything. And there's a lot, I mean, everybody up here, I understand it, right? The reality, they don't want to look at a building, right? But I could give them something a lot worse to look at, and I feel like it's not. Is it fair to Brian and I to, we were up front with everybody, I talk about all the petition of people. It was easy because there are a lot of residents in the neighborhood that are friends with neighbors on the Sundance greens, and they don't care about the building. We get people at the golf course going, hey, you're going to let us come in here. And I feel like I don't want to pin neighborhoods. I don't want to pin us, right? I mean, we're hoping for a community, but, I could have probably got 150, if we reached out to all the HOA, that's larger, even more, but that's not going to fix it. I think legally, we have a right. We were here from the beginning. We did our due diligence. If you talk about, golf balls hitting, I mean, I could have ran the green, right along where it was running currently, or the fairway to a green. What did I have to do? Put 50-foot, netting up, so nobody's, we already had complaints with people's balls hitting, so it was kind of the way I was talking to the developer. He wanted to put houses right back up. Well, obviously, we're not going to be able to long-term keep our fairway running parallel to the rear of their property lines. But, so, I just, I know there's other options. I sat with Mr. Gartner, and he actually gave me an idea. It doesn't work. It's hundreds of thousands more, and really doesn't, it doesn't really help us for our driving range. But those are just a lot of things back and forth. I think I didn't know if I should put it up, but I mean, I just have a rough idea of a site plan that we want to do for the golf course. So I have invested millions of dollars, bike trails. I've given 17 acres of additional land. A whole bunch I could name here. But I feel like we did all those things. We did what our PUD said, and now at the very end, we're taking something away that was promised us as part of that PUD. But like if you look here, here's a site plan that ideally, down the road, we want to make an investment in Dayton and make an investment in this property. Our banquet hall, it's old, it doesn't really meet what new current banquet halls have. So we'd like to put a banquet hall up. We'd like to extend the bowling alley a little bit, maybe to do some indoor pickleball court. And if we look at the size and the ponding, just what I show you, what we initially want, we're going to have to shrink it down because we don't have enough parking space. My point of this is we don't have extra space, So, and I think, I just, I've invested millions of dollars here for the city, brought a lot of tax base. I'd like to help increase the tax base. And on the traffic, we have two full-time employees. They're laid off in the winter. We have a couple part-time guys that live in the neighborhood. They drive their scooter over. So the commercial construction, I don't know where we get industrial. We get maybe a fuel truck in once a month. We haul the garbage up. I mean, there's way more traffic. It's not even a question between Amazon and FedEx trucks driving in the neighborhood delivering, right? And that happens everywhere. So I don't see us being a stress on Polaris. Still want to try being a good neighbor, but I guess the error was not having something in writing saying, hey, all you need to do is get a building permit, and that's why we're here. So if you guys have any questions to ask us, if you have any questions legally, maybe Jake, you got?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, Commissioners. I'll keep it brief. You've obviously already received an opinion from the city's legal counsel. And in short, we agree. We agree with the city attorney's position that in 2018, a general development plan was approved. And we agree with staff's position in the staff report. Again, in 2018, this project was approved as a golf course-centric planned unit development. That included necessary and normal maintenance buildings, as you see up on the screen. And since 2018, this development has been before the city at least 10 times. And every time, that plan was compared against that 2018 plan. And in reliance on those approvals, my client has invested tens of millions of dollars. And as he's shown you there, he plans to invest tens of millions more. So, in short, this request is consistent with the city code, it's consistent with the planned unit development, and it's consistent with 8 years of approvals. So we ask for your support. Thank you.
So I'm going to start off just asking a couple questions on Tom, and I know you and I've talked about it. It's been talked about here at some of the last couple times this was brought up in July and in March. The Sundance golf course property is multiple sites, right? Multiple parcels, right?
Yes.
And so one of the questions, and that was brought up today, was also about the driveway. But you could shift your driveways on the 113th and allow for a driveway access there and a separate one to the maintenance shed is what you've expressed in the past, correct?
Yeah, but that is correct. I mean, we'd have to shift the main road coming in 15 feet to the south.
Correct.
And we're on a separate parcel, and I think I gave a list of, I didn't even cover the whole cities. I think everyone can agree, right, that ordinance is broken. There are many, I had over 120 addresses with multiple driveways. And I think part of the PUD, I know one of the things, Mr. Semplett, mentioned that was all these drawings by Campion. Well, they're kind of the black and white drawings of plat layouts, lot layouts, grading, shows a square. It was no different than Brayburn Trails in any development. They don't show the house that's getting built on. But if you look, back then the ordinance must have been a little different. We had a 24-foot driveway, and if you look, it would show a little sliver missing in our plat of the lot. Like the lot, that far north lot on the west side of Polaris doesn't run to the property line. And we kind of put it there because there's, as one of the homeowners were speaking, that driveway doesn't run adjacent to his property. There's a 40-foot outlot buffer in between. So it is 40 feet. And then when we did early in our submittals, just to do this as the city reviews, they said, hey, you need a 20-foot driveway and we would like 5-foot setback. So we widened, and I don't know, can't say why that was. It wasn't just something we did. It was a long time ago. We took that and widened it to 30 feet, and it took that far north lot from a 3-stall garage lot to a 2-stall, right? So we did give up a little bit, and if there is a way, the fire department or something says a 16 or an 18-foot is sufficient, I'm willing to work with them, so.
The next one I wanted to talk about is the roadway configuration. And John, if you could go back a few slides to the blue and the black overlays. And I think this is just helpful for a lot of people to understand, right? Sundance Greens was 2018. Initially had the blue overlay here with the Polaris lane connecting to the south, just south of 113th there, and where Sundance Greens is currently built out to. At the time, you did not have DCM Farms under contract.
We did not have DCM Farms, no.
A plan for it, correct?
Yeah, we didn't have a plan. It was, at that time, it was just a pretty big undertaking. So if you really look, who would, everybody talks about all this development. this thing is gonna be 10 years from the start of construction to completion, let alone a couple years, you know, in 16 and then into 17, just to have some discussions and kind of come up. So you know, a lot has changed in Dayton, right? That's why we have a bunch of residents here, a bunch of people are moving out. It's a spot. But it just, it made sense at the time, you know, how I got acquired the golf course with Brian is that his sister, you know, was putting things into shambles and thought she could keep going for a little bit. So it took a few years. I mean, if you would guess, if you look at the building, it's an old building. You'd never even guess we've invested over $1 million in it just to keep it updated, you know, because you still walk into it and you're going, hey, this is not a new building, you know. So I think we just looked at, hey, we want, you know, it, you know, and a lot to do with Brian's managing the course. I'm not going to lie, I have nothing to do with the daily operations there enough. And so we're trying to work hard, though, to make that a viable business. And right now, I'll be honest, the golf course piece of it, we don't make money on. We need the other parts to make that a viable business.
Well, and I guess where I'm going is, at the time when the preliminary plat was put in, DCM's Farms didn't exist. And so now that DCM Farms exists, and it's platted, and I'm on the Hennepin County site on my computer here, and you can see where it's going to connect 115th to Minnesota or to Kingsview. It's going to have easy access in and out for this area here. Additionally, it's not well depicted in any drawings here, but I know it's there because we use it all the time, is the trail system along the power lines, right? And the
Yes, I mean,
connectivity.
that's a main line, and when I came back with this, when I proposed this, there was a lot of discussion about a bike trail running all through the city, and they couldn't talk, you know, like, where's it gonna go? I was very, I don't know, outspoken. I was just trying to help. It's like, look, the power line is never gonna go away, right? And you wanna get a corridor eventually from all across Dayton to where? The park, right? Everybody wants to go to the park. It's a great amenity for all these homes. So you'll have that whole trail, and I believe, John, that trail, right, is a city-owned trail?
Yes.
Yes, where, you know, some of the other trails inside are maintained, and not to be argumentative with the person on that rides the bike, but you're really just going over one more block, and then you're shooting through. So it isn't like there isn't, you know, it's a block over, and maybe that's a big deal. Maybe I'm misspeaking there, but it isn't like there isn't any access.
I think that covered most of the things I wanted to help clarify from what I heard besides the building itself. I guess I don't know if you guys have any questions or comments on anything.
I guess the only question I have for Tom was that, the last month when we were here, I think the question was asked of plan commissioners of what you could potentially work on, depending on what will transpire between the last month and this month. And at the end of the last meeting, we did not know for sure if there was any formal approvals that would allow for the maintenance building to be located where it's being proposed tonight. Did you have a chance to take a look at the plan and see if there's any alternate locations of that maintenance building? Let's say that we're here tonight and it was determined that there was no approvals made for the location where you're proposing it tonight. Did you look at other places to see where potentially that could go?
We did. I spoke with Mr. Gartner on one that he proposed putting it under our patio out of the bar and then golfing off the top of that roof, you know. And one of the reasons where kind of came back initially, I mean, I just thought this thing was approved. I wasn't expecting, you know, I thought the neighbors probably did their due diligence. I wasn't even expecting, so that's like, well, let's table, let me get you a rendering, because I can say what I'm doing, but if you have a picture. But then there's also been some drawings, but if you look at the site plan, you know, there really isn't a spot for us to put a building in there. And then secondly, we, as you look at trying to access the golf course, so every technologies are changing right now, and realistically, when I was here at the last meeting, I didn't even know about it. We, since then, have tore up and we're demoing an autonomous mower. They're electrically run. When they start to run low on their battery life, they automatically come right back to the charger. So how am I going to have a little 4x4, however, box drive across, the current parking lot to get to that, And if I wouldn't be here amending the PUD, right, I was actually shocked that 10 lots, really, most of the time it's the other way. You're putting too many lots in, that we even had to amend it. But I wasn't going to argue with staff. But if we went back to the initial layout, where else would it have gone, right? It'd still be at the same place because we'd have houses on it. So. But I mean, I shouldn't just say I. Brian and I have made a lot of financial investments and all through the PUD with this being the plan. And like I said, I'm not looking to get neighbor, but I think if you would ask anybody there in Sundance Greens, our path, our plan was always clear because that's what we just thought it was approved. And so from that standpoint, I'm still even shocked that we're here. I guarantee you the building we have is, or had we started taking some of it down, is wasn't a great looking building. That would not be acceptable moving forward. So as one of the things is here, as there was discussion the last time, is it a, permitted, is it a CUP, right? I mean, I came up and said, right, I can look at the city and CUP, but we're not gonna have that junk laying out. That building is not gonna look that way, so. I mean, I'm really understanding that legally, that's our, we have the right, and the city would open itself up for litigation. It's really difficult for us to move this building. Are there architecture, is there lighting, is there things that, want to look at? We're totally open to all that. I think we've been, like Brian said, I think we've tried to be a good steward to the neighborhood. I mean, actually, when this, we're looking to buy, there was the Brayburn developer, and if we wanted to develop it, there wouldn't be any golf course. It'd be all houses.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Tom, it just kind of bothers me that you'd even make the comment that you don't think these people did their due diligence when they bought their homes in Brayburn. Because you've heard testimony from everybody that was here tonight that they did that to the best of their ability. They went to the city, they looked at everything that was available to them. I spent hours looking at this stuff myself and just come to this whole meeting confused about why the hell the city thinks, why the city attorney thinks that they gave you guys permission to build that there. I can't find any documents that actually say there's a maintenance building there. I can't find any documents that show anything of any structure at all. For all I know, you're putting a building down there for golfers to sit in out of the rain or something.
So,
I can't tell from any of the stuff that I've looked at what we were looking at then. So that's what confuses the heck out of me. And it bothers me that you think that they didn't do. I think they did.
Well,
I just don't think it was available to them.
And I'm 100% disagree with you, because just recently, I don't know who changed the map in the city. That one with the circle of that building has been hanging in that entry since 2018 to 2026. And so if you look, the maintenance building that was there isn't there, right? and I'm sorry, if they would have asked me, I would, I will say, out of all that time, nobody reached out to me as the golf course owner, right? Never once. Because I would have answered it very clear.
And I'll say, just Keith, as someone who did a lot of due diligence when I moved into Sundance Woods with the city at the time of what was going on and what was planned and what was going to be planned with the golf course, what was going to be planned. And this is back in 2014, obviously a little bit older. I worked with the city of Maple Grove to try to figure out what was going to go behind my house on the Maple Grove side. The city of Dayton at the time, up through probably real recently, has been in the Stone Ages as it relates to their documents and accessibility to stuff. We have done a much better job recently of having this stuff accessible with the videos and the live streaming and the notes online. Previous documents were so hard to find, and if they were doing their due diligence as much as they could, unfortunately the staff at the time were running into the same archaic issues that the city had for files and systems. And so I'm going to disagree with you on that. It's kind of, it is what it is with an evolving city that, right, we've got an aging building, an aging infrastructure here that needs to be addressed too. And so.
Well, and I feel like I've tried to be a good steward to the city. A lot of my developments, I guarantee I put a lot more requirements and money into an investment that's needed. But I've tried to be an honest person, and I feel a little bit like it's questioned my integrity, and because anybody that's asked me, and I would have told them, and if you're really wanting to if you're really concerned and want to, would it be that unreasonable to call the golf course right there? So I mean, and it just comes back to I see the whole thing, right? We have opinions and we can bicker back and forth, but I just think legality and the Dayton's, their legal representation says I have the legal right too.
All right. Anything else for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I just, if you could just summarize the building, how many employees right now do you anticipate working out of the maintenance building?
Or would you rather have Brian come up and?
Yeah. Brian, you want to do it?
I think it.
It'd be better for
Sure.
Brian
Yep.
to answer.
Yeah.
Sure. So in the summer, we currently have we have 2 full-time guys, and then we have 3 part-time people. And in the winter, there's nobody. We have 1 guy, 1 full-time guy that might be down painting benches or whatever inside the shop. But for the most part, he's not even there full-time. So in the winter, there's nothing going on down there.
And then the trucks,
So the only trucks that would come down there would be the fuel trucks to fill the tanks for the gasoline and the diesel for the mowing equipment.
Okay, and then the vehicles that you, like the golf course owned vehicles that you'd have stored there?
Well, the mowers, they would be in the shop. Okay. We don't own it. And the skid steers would, I believe, Tom, we have the shop designed, so we can fit all the skid steers and
Everything in, and we have 1 skid steer, mowers. We don't own a vehicle.
we don't have a truck. We don't have a snowplow truck. We don't have a dump truck. No. So, like I said before, all the deliveries come to the main clubhouse. Even if we got equipment delivery, I guess the only other thing would be is if a mower broke down, MTI or Toro would come over there with a trailer to pick it up because we don't have a guy that swings wrenches full time. So.
Okay. And then maybe more so for Tom, remind me, the building is going to be sunken, was it 10 feet below grade? 9 to 10 feet?
I can't remember if the top of the grade was a 16 or an 18. I believe it was 18 at top elevation, and it would be 7 feet if we took it down to it'd be down to, 7 feet.
So-
We took it to 11. The building's designed with 12-foot sidewalls, so the back top of that roof is going to be 13 feet maybe.
So half to a third of the building is going to be exposed.
Yep. And if we need buffer fencing, know, they want fencing, landscape, trees, natural wood. You know, I think, I agree with your suggestion of, you know, get up, work with it. You know, we want to look good too.
I'm sorry, Tom, if you can come
Yeah,
up here,
sorry.
you're not getting picked up.
All right, sorry to repeat that. So, talking about, it's about a 7-foot cut on that hill, which wasn't what we were planning initially. We were just gonna kind of grade the top off, maybe scrape it a couple feet and call it good. And so, to the height, we probably, I'm gonna say there's, you know, 6 feet on the back, but in the front's gonna go to 14, right? So you're gonna have 7 feet. When I say 14, that's what I'm guessing the top of the roof is. I'm adding 12-foot sidewalls, and then you know, some truss on top of that. So that's not a 14-foot interior wall. And I mean, initially we wanted to go 18 so we could stack stuff up. We're at 7,200 feet. So you know, during the winter, our golf cars, we might need to have off-site storage for them, you know. Or do we just leave them out in the back during the winter?
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
On just the exterior storage, nothing, no exterior storage on this, it's all contained within the building?
Yeah, that would be our plan. During the summer, there might be some sand. We bring in loads of sand, maybe once or twice during the year to put in the sand traps. So that would have a load of sand there, and that would typically go away. Might have a pile of rocks, some conduit, or convent.
Yeah, I don't. And so one of the things has been bad, I mean, we've been under construction, right? And so we have other things there. I mean, we're hoping to be done with construction. I would just say, there's sand for two reasons, to fill the bunkers, and then a lot of times you put a sand on top of the greens when they aerate them.
Can you designate on the garage door side storage for that material? If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I don't really think we have much spot to dump it on the other side anyhow, you know what I mean? And I mean, to be honest with you, it's there for a short time. If you want it in the parking lot, up on the backside of the bowling alley, we'll dump it there, you know what I mean?
Gets used right away, so like right now, we're dumping it at the north end of our parking lot, and then using it, it's typically.
Yeah. I mean, we've got excess material, not, you know, I mean, I should say probably more now as we're just finishing the last part of it out to play, but once we're done, which hopefully another few weeks, we got a little seeding to do tomorrow.
All right. Those were the only questions I had on the maintenance side. Any more? Nope. All right, thank you.
Can I ask a quick question? Why was not provided to us in this packet that we received to be here tonight, this drawing with the parking lot, the spaces and all that kind of stuff?
This was more recent than when the packet was put out last week.
Okay, because when I look at this, I see a net new building that's next to the parking lot that is not described.
So tonight is not the site plan for the parking lot or the building. That's just a concept of what the owner would like to do on that.
Yeah.
We are not voting on that tonight. We are not addressing that tonight. It is simply to show a need for the reconfiguration of the roadway and the homes in the area. That'll be on a future site plan.
Yeah, so just for clarity, if when Tom wants to come back for the building expansion of the bowling alley, he's going to have to go through the same process again.
Understood, but he also indicated he didn't have space, but he has a space on there to expand his buildings, but not for maintenance. Just, it's relevant.
Sure.
I'm sorry to say that, but it is relevant.
Yep.
All right, moving into this discussion up here.
You know, I'm having a hard time with this. You know, I could sympathize with the homeowners as far as not wanting this building in my backyard and not getting the best information potentially from city staff, past or present, I guess, as far as what the exact plans were that were approved back in 2018. My concern is that, I agree that now, because of the opinion from the city attorney, that something was approved to be there, some kind of building, undetermined building, or whatever, I think in the staff report you said it was undetermined or
A
unidentified
building that was not
building.
labeled.
Not labeled. That kind of is, to me, a little bit telling, the fact that, a building was not labeled, and the fact that we don't know, or potentially back in 2018, perhaps it did, but the current commission doesn't have the knowledge of what happened back in 2018. We don't know if it was discussed. We don't know what in front of the city council. All we know from the city attorney is that a building was approved in that location. I don't agree that this gives absolute 100% legitimacy to say we are allowed to have a building here, because if I look at this, I don't see setbacks. I don't see the size of the building. I don't see orientation of the garage doors. I don't see where the driveway is here. I don't see anything except for a little gray box on a plan that's not identified, but that was approved in 2018. That's what gets me, is the fact that there wasn't enough site planning done in 2018 to fully describe the use of this building, what it is, and put it on record when this was approved back in 2018. The resolution 23, 2018 is granting preliminary plat and general development plan PUD approval of Sundance Greens. To me, that means it's a general plan to say, here's where we want to see things on this plan. And per the city attorney, that's enough to say that this building is allowed in this location. I'm going to use in this location very generally because we don't have the specifics. We don't have the technical layout of where this building actually sits to property lines, how big it is, how tall it is, what it's made out of. All those things that should have been looked at back in 2018 to say, yes, we understand that this building is going to be constructed through part of this process. Here's the location that it should go in, that's going to be approved to go in, and here are the exact parameters that we agreeing to in 2018 as far as where this building could be located. I wish that would have happened. Now we're back on saying that's a general location. I'm not going to go against the city attorney and say that a building in this location is not allowed. I can't stand on that because I'm not an attorney, and I wasn't privy to everything that happened back in 2018. But I think that we have to do a better job, or a more diligent job now of, okay, if it's in this general location, what exact parameters are we going to instill on where this thing is actually located, setbacks, so on and so forth. With that said, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with approving any kind of deviation from the ordinance in relation to setbacks or anything like that for this building or driveway. Just because it's the general location is approved doesn't mean the technical location will fit. And I think that in that instance, it'd be hard for me to approve a plan that this building wasn't 50 feet away from the property line at minimum, and that those garage doors were facing south. And if that works, it does. If the topography is not such where it's not going to work, then maybe it just doesn't work. That's the problem I have with this. And I mean, it's the struggle I'm having, because I want to make sure that obviously the golf course was given some kind of tacit agreement or approval of building in this general location. I just think it needs to be massaged out a little bit better, and I don't know if that could be happening at this meeting or if we have to wait for another meeting to really nail down that site plan. That's what I have for the maintenance shed. Obviously, everything else I think is fine. The reduction of the number of lots, the reconfiguration of the streets. I mean, I agree that that's a better layout. It'll help in the future for Sundance Golf Course, especially with future potential renovations of the building itself, or of the clubhouse itself. I don't know when the timeline is for those renovations, but that'd be a great time to incorporate a maintenance shed, don't you think? It's just what my thoughts are. So I'll leave it at that and wait for other commissioners to make comments.
I guess I'm really torn by this whole thing. It's not the, I'm a year into being a commissioner, planning commissioner here, and we keep running into these things where, for those of us that either sat in these chairs or sat in council chairs or in the mayor's chair in years past, made decisions or didn't make decisions based on the right data. And from listening to all of you coming here tonight and speaking, and that came at our last meeting and spoke, it's clear to me that you got information as best you could from the city, who is where I would go to get the information from. I don't begrudge you for that at all. I mean, who should know what's going on in the city but the city planners and the city workers that are actually doing all this stuff? Tom mentioned they could have went to him. I guess they could have, but honestly, I mean, I've known Tom since he's a little kid. I mean, I wouldn't have went to him with that question. I would have went to the city. So don't begrudge you for doing that, because that's what I would have done. And I guess I'm a little different. I agree with what Jeff is talking about, but I'm a little less hesitant to question the attorney's direction on this, because I spent tons of hours since the last meeting looking at this, and looked at it prior to our meeting last. I went back and spent the whole dang afternoon, or actually morning and afternoon today before I came to the meeting, looking at past recordings on the city website. Unfortunately, we can only go back to 23, right? We didn't have that ability to record everything going back to 2018. And I couldn't find anything that drove it through to my mind that yes, the city knew exactly what was going to go there, and yes, the citizens should have known what was going to go there. I couldn't find that. So that's what really leaves me in this quandary. I don't think the maps that we see with the little box like Jeff's talking about tells you what's going to be there. For all I know, it's a covered cabana for the golfers to sit in out of the sun and maybe pick up a beverage or a water or something. I don't know what that is, and I couldn't find any written documentation that actually said that that was supposed to be a maintenance structure. And I haven't heard anybody tell me that, yeah, we have that. So I'm a little perturbed as to how our attorney came to that decision. And I read the letter that we got from the attorney, and Jeff is right. That's what she told us, that yeah, they decided that you could do that back in 2018, but I didn't find anything that I hadn't looked at already that points me in the right direction, that brings me over to that side of the fence. I haven't had a chance to talk to her about it. I mean, I kind of wish she was here tonight so that we could discuss that with her. But the letter that I got from her, that doesn't sway my opinion one way or another. I totally disagree with her based on everything that I've read and seen. And based on the conversations that you folks have brought to this committee, I'm not comfortable with this building being there at all. At all. I'm not comfortable with the driveway. I can't find any. None of the maps that I got, the older maps, showed any driveway along that property line. Nothing that I could find. Again, if somebody has that and they can show that to me, dated back in those dates, that was turned into the city prior to the 2018 permission that the city gave to do that. You know, if there's maps that are produced after that, to me, those are immaterial. I mean, because the decision supposedly had already been made. How could it have been made using those maps when those maps weren't, showing the driveway and stuff weren't available? There's just too many unknowns. I'm just totally uncomfortable with this. As far as Tom's redrawing of the roads and stuff, I understand that's probably doesn't sit perfectly well with some of the folks that are there, especially the folks that, that have to take a different route to get to the trails and stuff. But I think the new house layout that you've got there, I like that, Tom. I do. The part of this that's really irritates me or really makes me hesitant to go along with this whole thing is that building. I mean, it's not the first place in the city that folks in the city have heard from me that commercial property should be not next to residential. I mean, we're trying to redraw city guidelines in other areas of the city where that has happened, where they've set us up for failure for people buying a piece of property. It's not fair for them, and thinking they could build this particular structure there, and now the city doesn't like the fact that, and the residents don't like the fact that they're building a commercial structure of one shape or size next to residential. It just doesn't fit, and we got to do a way better job, way better than they did in 2018, I guarantee you that. But I think way better than even the improved things that we've done in the last few years. So I'm not comfortable, with this other than the redrawing of the homes.
Sure. Yeah, come on.
So, so we have the setbacks, so if you take one of the drawings clear over a golf car path, it is, you can see the building, so it's shown about 25 feet, because the golf path on the south side is about 16 feet off the property line. But I don't think, what I'm here, not to argue that point. I think we're talking about a new code, business next to residential, and they're gonna do a setback at 20 feet, right? And yet, this is public recreation, so I understand it's different, but yet we're taking a lot of guidance from what, it's just an assumption, it should be what the business district is, right? Tell me where it says that in the code, right? So there's a whole bunch of ambiguity, and yes, I know I sat in that room over there and they told me what it is, and it wasn't even a building as nice as I had. But let me ask you this, if I move the building 50 feet, right, does it matter if the doors are on the east or the south side? Or one on each? Or if you want to just go with this design on the south, then I guess they got to be on the south. But I'm willing to move it 50 feet. It just, and I guess I don't know if it really matters if we move it 50 feet and they're on the south. But.
So just kind of to clarify the question, if it were possible to shift everything, both just the layout of the building as it is, 20 more feet, 30 more feet, so that the retaining wall is 50 feet away from, or 50-foot setback from the property line.
Does the retaining wall need to be that, or is it just the building? My understanding is just the building.
Yeah,
well,
I'm not agreeing with the retaining wall, because I'm thinking if we move it 50 feet, do I even need a retaining wall?
You probably don't.
You know what I mean? But is there some landscaping, some buffering? By all means, I'd be willing to do that. I'm not sure on the parking lot, layout, if it's that, or if it's a little bit better, just some on the east side. But I'm just talking about moving the building, right? That's 125 feet from.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying, it's real hard to design something right now tonight on the fly to say, I'll do it, and then you come back and say, well, we had a chance to look at this, and now it won't work for X, Y, and Z reasons, right? So
I'm just asking if that's a point of interest, right?
I mean, my contention is that you get it as far away from. Yeah, my contention is to get it as far away from the folks to the north there as possible. I mean, in the general area that was approved back in 2018. If that makes sense to do it, or if it makes any difference, I think that the further away, the better. Maybe that doesn't make sense, maybe that.
For us in our layout, it's less ideal, but.
Right.
But like I said, I think I've tried to be neighborly, I guess, we're going to agree to disagree, and we're not always going to agree, but I think I've, in the big picture, have been a good steward to that neighborhood. But I'm just asking, and maybe it's.
Yeah, no,
maybe
and again, I can't respond to anything I can't, that's not in front of me that I'm looking
Got
at
it.
setbacks and things like that on it either. So that's why it's a little bit difficult to say yes to this plan with the maintenance building here when there's no technical plan in front of us to review.
Yeah, and I think it'd just be revising that site plan. But, you know, if it was something that was interesting you, I would have it revised by the council meeting. If it doesn't matter, we'll just leave it what we have going, you know.
I mean, I guess, yeah, that was one of the points of clarification I was gonna make, is we're not the ones making the decision tonight, we're making a recommendation to council. So that can be part of our recommendation to council, is to look at the setbacks and have the applicant look at the setbacks and bring it forward to council with a larger setback of some sort.
Yeah, I'm just asking, throwing it
Right.
out there. Thank you.
Yeah, just Tom, just for my clarity, so what you're offering to do is have a 50-foot setback for the building and, you know, say 40-foot setback for the paved area.
I can't answer on the paved, on what
But
we have for.
50 for the building.
For dry, you know, I mean, swale drainage, you know, my engineer hadn't looked at this.
Yep.
He did, right? I don't prepare that, he does, so, but, you know, to me, it's the building, right?
And, I mean.
I mean, another standpoint, I could just park equipment out there, right?
Yeah.
You know?
On the
and no
north
building,
side,
that's no good.
does it need to be pavement is a question I have.
Yeah, well, and I think the question would be to look then, you know, is a, you know, maybe it can be bermed off nice and that, and those are some things that I can't answer to you concrete.
Right. I think the other question I have that, and just hearing Tom and correct me if I'm wrong, but if we can narrow the driveway up a little bit, you'd be open to that? But that's a city question.
No.
Okay.
So fire code is 20-foot wide driveway for a commercial.
Okay.
But the location off the property line,
The challenge with that is, Jason, you maybe clarify. So, I mean, there's a stormwater basin that you have to get around. So, you know, can you eliminate this lot and move this driveway around? Yes, but then you're still going up against the property line to get around that. So you're reducing in one area and not in another. It doesn't really make too much of a
And you're-
difference.
so you'd have to fill one end of the basin in and move it down the other way, dig the other end out. That would get you off the property line, would it not?
Moving the basin?
Sorry.
I'm
So right here, I think what he's talking about is this spot here, right?
Yeah.
All of Brayburn's water runs through here.
Yep.
Right? We can't move, you know, either way you move it, it's low, it's coming through there anyhow, so that's why that pond has to be there.
And so really, because of that outlot in Brayburn, the one property that is gonna be affected by where the driveway is, the one private property is in this new development. If we were to move it, because on the north side, the outlot has the buffers there with the outlots. Does that make sense?
Well, I understand what you're saying, yeah. I'm just trying to square it with, you know, I've been out there a couple of times in the last week and sat there and looked west at the property. And it looks like to me that the driveway could be moved over, but I'm not an engineer, so.
Right, and John, you need action from us tonight on this.
Yes. Question, so, and I don't know which way you guys are going with this. Are there any recommendations for the building itself? I mean, appearance-wise, material, it's, I believe it's LP siding or cement board siding.
I think the recommendation is to make it as appealing to
Okay.
the surrounding neighbors that
And
are there today.
that's all subjective.
Which
So
is-
what's appealing to you may be different than
I mean,
anyone else.
Yeah, if a building needed to be there, I think what's being shown on the screen tonight is obviously considerably more appealing than what was removed. So, obviously, Tom's done a great effort to make that building look as appealing as possible for a maintenance building. So I don't have any issues with any of the building materials or colors or anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's proposed, yep. So,
Thank you.
anything else from us on that?
No, and just on screening and, if the building shifts, the screening is going to change. But the general idea of the screening is to provide a buffer. We'll add to, for anyone at home, or here, we did have a workshop a couple weeks ago between the City Council and the Planning Commission to discuss screening and buffering and setbacks between commercial and non-commercial uses. So at that time, the City Council was considering adopting a moratorium on accepting applications for non-residential projects. And through this workshop, we kind of narrowed the scope, and that the problem that we're trying to solve is specific to potential businesses along Balsam. So Balsam is the commercial district over by down the street from City Hall. The council and the commission's kind of direction was to provide or to require a 20-foot setback for both buildings and parking lots. So that was more specific to our general mixed-use district, not necessarily to the public recreational district, but it's similar where we have a non-residential building next to a residential neighborhood.
I guess the only other question I would have for the building too, is that we don't see any plans for any proposed lighting on the building, or if there's freestanding lighting on light posts or anything like that. I would hate to say, go ahead and do what you want to do without knowing if there's any plans for that type of resource as far as lighting at night or whatever it might be, or even if there's security lighting or whatever it might be on the building itself, and where those are in relation to and proximity to neighboring properties as well. So, obviously they would have to meet minimum city code requirements for that. But it'd be nice to have seen where those light standards on the building sconces, what they look like, what kind are they? Are they, directing the light downwards? I mean, what does that look like? And from a neighborhood perspective as well. So potentially something that the city council should consider as well.
So John, just let's walk through the next steps here.
Sure. The request is for the Plan Commission to make a recommendation.
Yep.
That recommendation would be considered by the City Council on Thursday, August 13th. So normally the council meets on Tuesdays. That conflicts with the primary voting night. So the council meeting has been moved from Tuesday to Thursday.
But in relation to the building, obviously the applicant would have to submit some more information on the building.
It depends on what the council wants to do.
I mean, at minimum, they gotta submit a building plan or a building permit.
Building
But
permit,
not
yes.
necessarily come through us, but that would have some of those, and we already have code
Yep.
written around lighting and restrictions on that.
Correct. So like things we haven't reviewed or talked about tonight, so exterior lighting, for example, in our code, there's a maximum of, I believe it's 0.5 foot candles at the residential property line. It can't be exceeded. So we would look at that as part of the building permit application.
Yep. So I think, Jeff, you're right in wanting to know those, but we do have a process for that to come through, and it's not necessarily through us all the time.
I guess I'm used to looking at set plans that have all that information up front so you can make the most informed decision. But I agree that the city code would take care of that with proper scrutiny from city staff.
Can I ask a question? Even if it's not appropriate, you can decline to speak.
I mean, I'd say come on up, I'll allow it. I'll allow one.
I'm not going to speak long, but again, Eric Seppold, 11534. Since you are talking about building considerations, design, whatnot, I guess there was something at one of the last meetings, the Forgent group came forward and they mentioned there's some ideas to put a walking trail or something near the proximity of something else, and I forget what it was called, but with the building being close to a public walking trail in Brayburn Trails, I would just ask or suggest if any considerations need to be made for of the site, considering the safety risks to pedestrians, I guess, that might be tempted. Mr. Dean mentioned that people go out there, and I don't go out there, and I do feel it's unsafe to access the trails or the golf course path, but it's a safety thing, and people do it, and kids do it, and they don't follow rules. So I guess that's the one thing I think about Elm Creek Park, and I think they have a maintenance building, but I believe it's fenced off too. Again, also not appealing, but maybe just safety considerations for neighborhood and probably even staff, to be honest. It's, I think, right next to a hole. So that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Can I entertain a motion? Or do either of you want to entertain a motion?
Do not.
Well, I'll throw it on the table here. So I would move recommend approval of Ordinance 26-XX, which is amending the zoning map, and Resolution XX-2026, which is amending the preliminary plat and the PUD of Sundance Greens in Sundance Greens 12th edition, with direction to the council to look at the location, obviously in proximity of the maintenance shed to the property owners to the north. And this is hard. That's a hard motion to make because it's very subjective on what the best location would be for that. But to have the developer work on trying to push that shed as far south as possible.
We have a motion.
Three times you asked.
Can I second the motion?
You can second the motion.
I will second the motion then. Any further discussion on that, on the motion that's been made? I think I'd like to direct it to be a hard line of 50 feet and amend the motion.
If it's accepted.
I would accept that amendment to the motion.
I think we have to give some direction of what we can, and the applicant has to do his due diligence to try to meet that. And if he ends up at 45 and has a justification for the council, I'd be okay with that.
Same here.
But let's try to get to the 50 feet that we've been talking about. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Motion passes 2-1.
Thank you. And again, this will go to the city council on next Thursday, August 13th at 6:30 p.m.
John? Oops, sorry. Did Paul send in any opinions?
He did not.
He did not? Okay.
Right, moving on to item 8B, public hearing resolution XX26, plan unit development and preliminary plat of the Parkway neighborhood.
There we go. Oh, too far. Okay. So this is a public hearing for a plan unit development preliminary plat of Arbor Ridge neighborhood, which is formerly known as the Parkway neighborhood. The commission has previously seen this a few times. So this project started out in, I believe it was 2022, 2023. It did receive preliminary plat approval in 2024 and final plat approval in 2025. At that time, we had two projects, so this is, we'll see how this works in a minute, but I'm just, traditionally, I'm going to probably use the term Parkway neighborhood, but it is known now as Arbor Ridge neighborhood. So Parkway neighborhood is located on the south side of 94 and Dayton Parkway. At the time when this project was originally approved, we had also had a project called Dayton Creek Edition that was next door. The assumption is that these two projects would be going simultaneously, and then that didn't happen. The Parkway neighborhood was approved, but did not have legal access onto Dayton Parkway. That doesn't work, and so some time went by and the approval of the final plat expired after 1 year, and so we're starting the process over again. I'll say there's no significant changes since this project was originally approved in 2025, other than we have a name change. I'm just going to add the reason of the name change. So when we do addressing, there's an address grid that we use from Hennepin County, and this main street that would go through here is Xanthus. And we kind of looked at the larger area and decided it also lines up with Arbor Ridge, I think it's Arbor Ridge Lane in Maple Grove, and are making that street name, and now it becomes the identity of the project.
John, can I ask, in the staff report, you said the project is the same as what was approved in 2025 with the exception of the event center. Could you explain?
Yes, let me go into that. So this project, I believe, will have 5 phases. So the first phase, which we're considering tonight, is for 176 units down in the southeast corner. Phase 2, which you will see very soon, is 231 units. This is, it's hard to see on the mouse here, a larger apartment complex over here, as well as, I'll say, in addition onto phase 1. The developer has also applied for an interim use permit for an event center. And so this is more to give you a heads up of what's coming. That's not something that we're going to talk about tonight. So we do have to have a separate public hearing for that. Okay. In the comprehensive plan, this is guided as mixed use. It is also located within the Greenway Overlay District. And then it is zoned for general mixed use 5, Southwest mixed use. So we have 5 different mixed use districts. Each of them has its own list of permitted uses and different standards. Okay.
This event center, does it change what was approved before?
It's an addition.
To the building that was approved before?
I'm going to say an additional use of the property, but it's not related to phase 1 or the first edition. So with the planned unit development, so again, within all of the general mixed-use districts, they require that any kind of development be done as a planned unit development. So with the PUD, it does allow deviations from city code requirements in return for a public benefit. So we heard that in the last item. It's the same with this one. Deviations from the city code specific to Lot 1 or the first edition. There's an increase in density from 20 units an acre to 27 units an acre. There's a reduction in the building front yard setback from 20 feet to 10 feet. That is this building here. Yes. And, again, with phase 1, we are only looking at the southeast section of this project. There's a reduction of 7 garage stalls, 38 parking stalls, 62 trees, and then shrubs around the perimeter of the building. So within our landscape requirements, we do require a 5-foot landscaping around buildings. It doesn't necessarily have to be plantings. It can just be decorative rock. Okay. this is our landscape plan that I kind of, just another, it's difficult to see at this scale, I guess.
And all these deviations were previously approved.
Yes, the plan hasn't changed. I'm going to say we probably looked at this in a little bit more detail regarding the landscaping. You know, in trying to figure out, okay, is there room to put more trees? There's not much. This is a very tight site. I think the only place to add more trees would be within the wetland buffer, and I don't know necessarily if it would add to the project. It would probably provide some screening from 94. And so the darker shade area would be the wetland buffer. And then this is the wetland, and this is 94. That might be the on-ramp for 94. Any questions so far on the deviations? No. Public benefit. So again, and this is looking at the project project-wide, not necessarily just with Lot 1. So there are a number of private amenities. So the project future phase will include a clubhouse with a swimming pool. This project is within kind of a guided search area for an extension for Three Rivers Park District Regional Trail. That trail will continue through the project and then along the street up to Dayton Parkway, would cross Dayton Parkway and then continue north towards eventually to Dayton River Road. And then also another public benefit I have listed here is just the housing options. We do not have many apartments in Dayton. This is would provide a significant amount of variety of housing in Dayton. Any questions on the public benefits? I should add within the code, you know, I'm referring to this as public benefits, but within the code it also allows private amenities that are, you know, not open for public use. Okay, and this is a detail of the buildings. So it is 6 buildings that range from 25 units to 38 units in size. The buildings are all 3 stories. And then I've got a number of slides that, and I understand it's difficult to see this on a larger screen. This is the first floor plan and the second and third floor plan elevation. So this is a 3-story building. On one side of the building will be I'm going to call it a tuck under garage. And then the other side, it's a full 3 stories of apartment units. And then we have 3D renderings. So again, this is phase 1 and 2. So the first edition are these 6 units here. The second edition that you'll see in shortly will include these 3 buildings and then these 2 buildings here. Any particular slide that you'd like to focus on? So what the request is tonight is to provide a recommendation for approval. This is for the preliminary plat in PUD for the first edition.
So let's clarify a few things since we just went through a PUD and that was approved almost a decade ago. And so the public benefits here are project-wide for all of the.
Yeah, so using the last item as an example, let's say 10 years from now we're looking at this again. The public benefits that you're looking at is the private amenities, the extension of Three Rivers Park District Regional Trail, and the housing options.
And so for this PUD in particular, I guess where I'm trying to go is, do we need all of those public benefits in there? Or do we want to table one for a future PUD that comes about? Does that make sense?
Sure. So let's say phase 2 comes in, or second
Yep.
edition, or the 5th edition. You can add to it and say, okay, this is the expectation for public benefit, or maybe something isn't so much. So every time you open up an amendment, it kind of opens everything up.
The PUD essentially will be for the entire property. We're just
Yes.
looking at it piecemeal for the different phases, right? So in subsequent years, when new phases come up, it's still going to be applicable to the entire property, those public benefits.
Yes.
So you wouldn't have to consider those through every PUD amendment because they were already considered for the master plan, so to speak.
I don't know if I have a good answer to that. Let's say the clubhouse.
Because there is no
number-
master plan, right? We are just looking at this first piece.
So the intention is to get preliminary and final plat approval of the first piece, or the first edition. Let's say the clubhouse never gets built. You're kind of hanging your hat on the clubhouse as a public benefit, as being a private amenity, but it's not built.
And then we're
You're
gonna have
making an
neighbors
assumption that
not
it is.
wanting the clubhouse built.
Depends where. It just depends where.
I mean,
Does it have a garage door?
yeah. I'm not trying to be sarcastic here. It's the reality of almost what
Of
we
course
just
it
went
is,
through.
yeah.
I guess I'm a little confused as to, are you saying that what we're considering here tonight should just pick one of those three?
No, what I'm considering is
I don't understand.
what are the public benefits of just doing this portion? That's not looking site-wide. Let's talk just this portion, And that's where I'm asking John, is there something that
That would make sense,
That-
because then you would
Yeah.
probably exclude the private amenities, because there are no private amenities on what we're
The
considering
first phase.
tonight.
Yeah.
and that's kind of where my head was leaning on that one.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Yep, so on that train of thought, the public benefit, I've got 3 listed here. The only one that relates to the first phase is the housing options.
And wouldn't it, I mean, to get the housing options in, you're gonna put the road in, you're gonna have some easement for the trail.
Correct.
If you're not putting the trail in to begin with, right?
Yes, the trail, and I'm sorry, I should clarify, the trail is going to be built with the road.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
a benefit that needs to be considered. And that one, right, easily, it stretches the whole length of the project, easily part of that. The housing options, I agree with. The private amenities in this one, I don't see any.
I think it could replicate
Yeah.
the public benefits in the next phases too.
Yeah.
Because you're still gonna have those same connections and whatever it might be, so.
What else can I tell you?
I actually have a question. So in your staff report, you're listing all of the critical issues here. And the one under snow storage, I hate saying that phrase, is that it's unknown, right? So does the city code specify the need for snow storage in quantities or a percentage of impervious surface, or
It does
how does
not.
it address, at all, it doesn't address
No.
snow storage?
No.
I found it really beneficial for city codes to do that, especially with developments with a high percentage of impervious surface. You even said here that this is a tight site, which means there's a lot of impervious surface. And if you get a good snowstorm, there's going to be issues with where that snow is going to be put, especially if these are private driveways that aren't as wide as your normal city streets. I've worked in cities where that has been a critical issue with some developments where they just don't know where to put it. Ultimately, it's governed by those were governed by HOAs, which they had to cart it off-site, obviously. But it probably wouldn't be a bad thing for the city to look at that. Just a friendly suggestion to say this is a requirement, and where are you on the plan planning for your snow storage in the future, so.
It's difficult to see on the screen, so, these are the apartment buildings. This is parking spaces that are in front of garage doors. This is an entrance into the building. There's a little bit of landscaping here. On the other side, this is, we have garage doors here, but then there's an ADA unit that does have some landscaping. When I say landscaping, I believe it's rock, or landscaped rock and a tree. So kind of the point being is it's tight, like there's just not much space.
But
for plowing.
If you're just looking at what we're looking at here tonight, and we're talking about snow storage, and that's we live in Minnesota, right? We require X number of parking stalls based on the occupancy of the building that we're looking at, and if the owner has to store snow in some of those parking stalls, and they really aren't providing per code the parking stalls. I would guess that with just this phase that we're looking at here tonight, that they wouldn't have problem with ample snow storage spots on property until you get all built out. That's when that issue is going to come around to bite you in the butt. So.
Yeah, that ordinance, exactly what Keith was saying, would specify that you can only use parking spaces if they don't fall under your required minimum number of parking. And this could be across to industrial and commercial buildings as well, right? So, and then you could also specify we don't want snow storage in these locations if it's in retaining ponds or in sensitive areas that, whatever it might be. I mean, I've seen that spelled out in city codes as well. So just something to consider, and I think that, any developer wants the best, function of their site, and I think that that's going to be part of their plan anyway, but right now it's not required.
Yep. No, I mean, that's something we can add to a requirement in our site plan review.
All right. Anything else for John? Michael?
Hi, Dennis. Jeff, Peter, Paul. I don't know you. What is your name?
I'm new, yeah. So I'm Cole
Oh, hi, Cole.
If I could, so I skipped over a few slides at the beginning of the meeting. This is Cole Hansen, our new associate planner. This is day 2 for him, or maybe day 1.5 or so.
I mean, at this point, it is day 2.
Day 2.
Hours-wise, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so happy day, everybody. Going backwards, in our last year we did this, whoever brought up the snow stuff, spot on, and you're correct. We have 17 acres to push it over to the left that's not buildable. It's in floodplain. So collectively, as the master plan, we have the whole artery of the road coming down and have ample way to bring, and it just stays right on site. And it's lowland and it's off to the site.
Perfect.
And I think we addressed this also when we did the 180 units, which is coming, let's just say a month from now. We just put that package in on August 1st, and that covers the clubhouse, and as John said, it's 180 units plus 51. This today is 176 plus the road, and then the other public benefit that let me just say it, and then I don't know where you want to fit it in, but it is part of the road, right? We're doing the road, and then we worked very hard with Three Rivers to get this trail thing that's going to be quite actually nice in terms of beneficial connections, blah, blah, blah. The other one that happens is Zach and I, and it's called the Water Distribution Network. So we're looping for the city and connecting water to the south with Maple Grove and hooking up to Rogers on the north. And so there's a lot of write-up and double-clicking into what are those benefits, but when you have an area that's going to have such density, water pressure during emergencies are big issues. Anyway, the bottom line is it's neutral or better when cities have looped water access. So I think as a public benefit for sure, because we're touching both Dayton Parkway on the north, and I don't know how, but Maple Grove, literally you drive out into this field and there's a fire hydrant. Seriously, it's got a 16-inch, it's just in the middle of the cornfield.
It's for the cows.
Yeah, so it's going around. And so there is a water distribution network, and I think when we get to the next, when I'm coming in the next time to talk about sort of this bigger stuff, you're going to find a great deal of public benefit because of the whole open space and the parks and so forth. Today is really about the red part, which is the 176 doors, plus the roadway that comes, from our property line all the way down to the cul-de-sac. So I think those were snow you mentioned, and then what was the other? Was there other?
No, the snow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, I would suggest that we have changed zippity-doo for a year, right? Just because of what happened with the drama next door, we're coming around again, and the plans are the same. And I think you do hit nicely, whether it's on this one as far as public benefit, but this whole neighborhood is really going to bring, from a city perspective, it's going to fill a void or a gap, if you will, in terms of the housing opportunities. And I think you're going to love that as you learn more about the broader stuff that you see there. We're hitting both sizes, demographics, and rents, right? So this is not going to all be just, this and up or so forth. It's going to be very beneficial for a broad audience.
Where are you targeting those rents at?
Well, right now, we just did 2 weeks ago, ran around and did kind of the update now that we're into the middle of the year. Rents are average here is about $1,900 on all 176 units. So I think we fit, quite below certainly anything in a home ownership and all those things, and very competitive with the competitive set in the 3 mile radius. And parking wise, can you go to that slide where you're talking about deviation or something like this? We've had a number of conversations just about parking and Mr. Mayor, and talking about you guys, the code and the ordinances of parking as a whole. And I think we addressed this a little bit more on the apartment building, and set forth some larger spaces for the big pickup trucks and so on and so forth. This site, we're at like 2.26 stalls per unit. So we're like, we're wonderful in terms of our overall parking. Density, I don't know why when we say density, the GMU5 had a threshold, a floor of 12 per acre. And I think as John's alluding here, we're probably on a net basis, we're well up into the 20s. So I see that in terms of favorable from what I understand anyway of the spirit for the GMU5. And so I'm happy to take any of the other questions, but generally the plans haven't changed any.
Yeah, just one other question here, and it's in the staff report. That's the only reason why I'm bringing it up. But it said that there's more discussions needed regarding if this is going to be a gated community or not. Could you expand on your thoughts on what it means to be a gated community? What the intentions is? What are your thoughts on that?
Yep, 100%. So we believe. So we've analyzed, and when I say we, both internally and then speaking with staff and Zach about public road and maintenance and private road and maintaining these and what are the costs and so on and so forth, and we seem to feel like the net outcome of that is that the road that comes from Dayton Parkway will come through to your site and then stop right where that line is there on the east side of your property. And so from that way west, it's a public, and then where we start is all, it's private property, private, and so, gated was just a conversation that was like, oh, okay, well, do we want to have like a gate where you push like a garage door and it opens, and, they have them all over the place in Florida, right? So it's, but at the moment, this is not. This is just, you have a road, it'll come down, but we do envision that the road is going to be private, and of course, it's private ownership of the apartment community. and we will maintain, all of those, all of that.
Knowing Maple Grove had water there,
Pardon me?
knowing Maple Grove had water
Yep.
just south of the cul-de-sac there.
Yep.
Have you had any conversations, or staff had any conversations with Maple Grove about a roadway connection through here, or?
Yes, down to the south.
Yeah.
Yeah, their opinion at the time we had the discussion was that they would not foresee a road connection going all the way through. Primary reason being you'd have to cross Rush Creek.
Okay.
Although they did mention potential additional access to the north part of the Temple property, as that would be easier access because they wouldn't have to cross
Right.
Rush Creek. So.
Yeah. And a lot of that is in the floodplain. There's maybe a skosh of it is floodway, so a lot of it is not really developable normal.
Yeah, it is definitely a floodplain. In 1965, you could have launched your boat off 101 and went
Is that
fishing
right?
and skiing out there. Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
That whole valley was full of water.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I will say that what we do expect to do, working with the county, the trail is not going to stop at the cul-de-sac. The trail will then continue through the Hindu property and connect to, back to our whole idea with the roadway, it connects right to Arbor Ridge Parkway. And 300, it's like 0.5 miles or whatever that is in linear feet, and we've got school children that can now literally, like thinking about the old days, we can walk to school. 24/7, 365, beautiful, I think we're 20 feet, and then we're gonna do some extra width for like gravel bike riding on the side and so forth. So it'll cater very well, particularly for families that have elementary school children, as well as just the access to head south. You're now into, connecting all the way over to Elm Creek, and, there's a lot of great benefits with that trail system.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Nope.
All right. Michael, thank you. Might call you back up.
Yeah, no problem.
This is a public hearing, so I will open it at 8:57. If there's anyone here to speak on this.
We've got two people associated with the applicant, so.
Okay. All right, well then, I will close the public hearing at 8:58. Any discussion?
I think we did most of the legwork last year, whenever it was, and I'm glad to be refreshed on this project, and still think it's going to be beneficial, and I think I recommended approval a year ago, and I don't see my decision changing at all today.
I think the only comment I have on it, and it's just making me reflect on after the Sundance one, is let's make sure when we're bringing forward the PUDs, let's make sure we're bringing forward benefits that are for that phase, right? Or that can be locked in prior to that.
Sure, so just for my clarity, the public benefits associated with the first phase or this application is the extension through Three Rivers Park District Regional Trail and housing options.
Yep.
It does not include private amenities.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's something that you'd be required whether it was a PUD or not, you'd have to do that.
I think the private amenities, I think I'd like to hold off on that in case plans change and they don't, then it's not tied to that.
Any other discussion?
I don't think so.
All right, with that, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Resolution XX-2026, which is a planning and development and preliminary plat of the Parkway neighborhood. Unless we should call it the Arbor Ridge neighborhood.
We probably should call it Arbor Ridge in our approval.
We get it approved quick before you change the name again. I'll second the motion.
right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 3-0. And this will be on the 13th, John, or?
No, this will be the normal council meeting on, I think it's August 22nd?
25th?
25th. Yes,
25th.
August 25th.
All right.
We have one before that and then the 25th.
Yeah.
There's two, I think.
There's a council meeting on August
The
13th.
I can't turn it around that fast, so it'll go on August 25th.
Okay, I don't, just however you got it signed. Are you talking about, we have a preliminary plat and then we're going?
So what you're asking for is both planning unit development, preliminary plat, and final plat. The planning commission only takes action on the preliminary plat, not the final. The final goes straight to council.
And that's on the 25th?
25th, yes.
Yeah, that's, okay, that's
Yep.
what we have. No, that's fine. Okay, wonderful.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Chairman.
All right, moving on to item 8C, public hearing resolution XX 2026, amending the 2040 comprehensive plan related to the ultimate sewer map Southwest Dayton.
This is really exciting stuff here. So we had a notification from the Met Council that they need or are requiring us to submit a comprehensive plan amendment for our ultimate sewer staging plan. So the ultimate sewer staging plan divides the whole city up in, I'm going to call it districts or areas, where sewer lines are generally going to go in what direction they're going and where they're connecting to. The 2040 comprehensive plan specific to this area of Southwest Dayton shows a connection to the Maple Grove, I'm going to call it this interceptor.
Elm Creek interceptor.
Elm Creek interceptor in Maple Grove, but in reality it does connect to a different interceptor. Same interceptor, different location in Rogers. It really doesn't have any meaning to us, but it does have meaning to the Met Council because the metering it's a different meter. It's a lack of a meter.
So
Jason understands this better than I do.
So when the 2040 comp plan was provided, the interceptor had not been constructed yet. So it was shown schematically that we would connect to the Elm Creek interceptor to the south. When it was actually installed, it was installed to the west along 101. And therefore, we went west to connect to it. So instead of our line going south, it needs to go west. And then we have to call it unmetered. And the only reason for that is we had to connect directly to the interceptor as opposed to a manhole outside of the interceptor. Or a manhole owned other than Met Council, I should say.
And Jason, you'll have to correct me. So this map affects how Met Council does billing.
I don't know if the map will affect it, but the fact that it's unmetered, we'll have to set up terms for compensating for the flow that we send to the treatment.
Yeah, essentially you're, and I know this from what I do at work, you're allowed to connect to the Met Council at certain points, either within your city or adjacent to in these locations. And they have meters throughout and monitor flow, and that's how they bill to determine how much sewage we are giving them to treat. So it does affect the billing to some extent. But
There's very few people that understand this, and I know I'm not one of them.
I know it runs downhill,
Yeah.
Hopefully.
sometimes with the help of a pump, right?
So I'm looking for a recommendation for approval.
This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing at 9:04. If there's any comments on this.
No one online.
All right. I will close the public hearing at 9:04. Any discussion?
Well, I guess I'll make a motion. I'll recommend approval of Resolution XX-2026, which is amending the 2040 comprehensive plan related to the ultimate sewer map, Southwest Dayton.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 3-0. Item 8D, Resolution XX26, amending 2040 comprehensive plan related to future land use for 17051 117th Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it's easier to tell this as a story. So the map on the left is the future land use plan or map from the 2040 comprehensive plan. At the time that this was created and then approved in 2022, it was assumed that I'm going to say this is the land use plan, this is the transportation plan. When this was approved in 2022, we had kind of an idea of where we would have collector streets, and this is kind of more commonly known as the X plan. So the plan was adopted in 2022. In 2023, we changed it into what is called or affectionately known as the H plan. And so the X is gone, and we have just the cardinal north, south, east, west road connections. But we did not update the future land use plan to that. And so the future land use plan shows kind of a city center near the intersection of East French Lake Road and 117th, which the city really does not intend to implement. But we haven't updated our plans to reflect that. Okay, so what does that mean? So we've got the slogan, what do I want to be when I grow up? Dayton Parkway went, as the commission knows, went more northerly versus easterly. We have a project that you will see next month that is guided for industrial, business park, and commercial. And so the question of what should it be, what is its best use as? Being that the city does not intend of moving Dayton Parkway into a diagonal direction, this is not realistic at all. So the question that's being posed to the Planning Commission and the City Council is what should this area be guided as, and whether it's commercial, business park, or industrial. So that was 2023. 2025, the council adopted a moratorium in this area to study land use and transportation. This is kind of the result of it, where and I understand that you can't read anything on here, but this should be guided as industrial, and then south of here would be residential, whether it's low density residential or medium density residential. It was important in the council's recommendation is that there not be a mix of residential and commercial traffic, that they be kept separate. So the idea here is that all of the commercial traffic would exit out onto Dayton Parkway, and all the residential traffic would stick with East French Lake Road. Okay, that's 2025. Now we're in 2026. So we have a proposed project for an industrial user on this site. They've submitted kind of a ghost plat of how industrial could be extended out to East French Lake Road. Their plan, and I don't want to discuss this tonight because there will be a public hearing next month, but their plan is consistent with what the city came up with in 2025. But still, it requires a comprehensive plan amendment. So again, when I grow up, I want to be industrial. So the developer is requesting that this be industrial versus business park. In our comprehensive plan, we have definitions for future land uses. So we have a definition for business park as well as industrial. And then in our zoning ordinance, we have a definition for business park and light industrial. The project that you will see next month fits both categories, and so it's kind of a question of what do you want to do? But again, the developer will be requesting a zoning map amendment to an industrial. Oh, that's my slide. Questions?
Well, how close is that to residential?
Next to it. So looking at, I don't have a zoning map up here. This is agricultural. I mean, it's zone A1 agricultural. We do have single-family homes that are along East French Lake Road. But again, the guidance that came from the 2025 moratorium was to guide this area as industrial. although we did not update the comprehensive plan because the thought at that time in 2025 was that development is going to happen very, very quickly, faster than what we could amend the comp plan ourselves. And then it didn't happen. But now we're at that point where we've got another project.
Anything else?
No, I will just add, all of our industrial areas back up to another land use, and oftentimes that's residential. And if not residential, it's agricultural that at some point could be residential. So we're always going to have that conflict.
So right, the conflict is gonna be there. The more we build out the city, with houses ahead of industrial or commercial, you're still gotta figure out a way to have some kind of a buffer zone between industrial and residential.
Yes, but
We haven't figured that out yet, have we?
We're in that direction. I mean, we kind of went that direction with the workshop a couple weeks ago, which I understand. The members of this commission were not able to attend that, but
In total, anyway.
Yeah, so I guess this one's a little different, Keith, in the fact that what we're used to seeing is either an established dense neighborhood, be it the mobile home park or the Sundance or the Brayburn Hills, right? And you have this new industrial coming in, or new commercial coming in, or new
Or the
building.
GNU district.
Yeah.
East of here.
Here
we're building it ahead of time so we can have the
Here-
conflict.
Here we're building the industrial first.
No,
at
the
least-
homes are already there along French Lake Road.
They're like 430 feet away from
Well-
the property line.
And they're zoned as, that we're changing the zoning for the homes on French Lake.
Right, but they're still there. People still live there, right?
But
We're
they,
not gonna kick
but-
them out of
But
there.
they would have to agree to a zoning change on their property, correct?
typically, I mean, the city does have the ability of rezoning property without property owner's permission. That's not typically what we do.
Yeah. So,
I would hope that no one's saying that that's the plan for us to do that, but in effect, that's what that map is showing us.
So
It goes all the way up to French Lake Road.
Okay, so just to back up a little bit, most of this area is zone agricultural. And, you know, yes, along East French Lake Road, these are homes, they're not necessarily farms. So this is a guide that the city adopted. It is not, I'm gonna say, probably not a formal direction, it's not a comp plan amendment or anything like that. This is just a direction to guide developers.
I mean, steering this in the comprehensive plan towards industrial is in line with the moratorium discussion that we had. That's my answer on this, is that we've already made the decision that we want to see this area being industrial at some time in the future. And the only reason why we didn't do it is because, like you said, the development would outpace us being able to do it ourselves. So I'm in favor of guiding this towards industrial.
and I guess to your point, right, we're talking about the land itself, not the setbacks of buildings to buildings and
Right.
buildings to property lines. So that, I get what you're saying.
But if you rezone the land, and someone owns the land and they want to build something on it, how do you tell them they can't build on it because there's homes next door? Because you've rezoned the land, right?
So this is a
Doesn't that
comprehensive.
just back yourself right into a corner,
So-
just like we did over here?
This is a comprehensive plan amendment, it's not a zoning map amendment. Now, the project that you're gonna see next month will include a zoning map amendment.
That's
So
the-
you're gonna have the
comprehensive-
same
So
argument.
that's the Forvent document that you,
Next month.
next month, right?
Yeah.
But isn't that just for that specific property?
That's going to be, I'm gonna call this a square, that's just for this square project, so,
Right.
yeah, not for this.
Not for
And the zoning map the comprehensive plan guides the land. The zoning map is,
The zoning is intended to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. So right now, the comprehensive plan is showing a mix of industrial, business park, and commercial. The project that will be coming in will be consistent with industrial and business park, but not commercial. So then the question would be is, this should really be a gas station, not a industrial building. And, I mean, I don't think we're gonna, anyone would make that argument, but that's an example of an argument that could be made.
I guess, if you change the zoning, and the zoning includes the area that you're changing zoning and includes current residential properties, what effect, what am I missing? Are we just only talking
The
about what's
square.
in the checkered square there?
Correct.
Yes.
yep, it's just the one.
So it's one parcel that we're talking about?
Well, it's 3 parcels, but
It's
it's one
3
project.
parcels, one owner.
Yeah.
And it's bordered on 117th on the north side?
Yes,
And Dayton Parkway on the
west side.
west.
So you're talking about the property directly east of the cubes?
Yes.
All right, anything else for,
No.
anything else for John? Okay, this is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing at 9:16 if there's anyone here talking this. Thank you for your patience tonight.
I'm Joanne Dudica. I live at 17050 117th Avenue North, directly across the street from the area we're talking about. I have a question. Is the city of Dayton buying this property?
No.
Okay. Because I was told differently, and gossip goes, and who knows what it says and does and whatever.
You don't say.
Yeah. I'd like to know if an environmental study's ever been done on this property. It's 45 acres. I've looked at it for 35 years. It's gorgeous. There are ponds, there are wildlife, there are snapping turtles that we've helped to cross the road every year. And these are all diminishing. I just wonder if an environmental study has been done on this area for the previous purchaser? About
Yes.
5 years ago?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to protect the ponds? Because there is a lot of wildlife. There's trumpeter swans, there's...
So it would be a more appropriate conversation when we have the public hearing for the project. So the short answer is the ponds are going to change.
Okay. I'm just saying, are you going to accommodate some kind of wildlife? Or are we
Yes.
just going to
Yeah.
pave all of Dayton? Because when I lived here, or moved here, it was because you were promoting, the green space and the horseback riding, and I owned a horse for 50 years, so it's like, it's just like, I hate to see it. I'd like to see it stay kind of the same. Maybe I need to direct all these questions when you come up with a plan?
Yes.
Okay, so that's probably better. I'd like to bring up a point of the roads. Since Dayton Parkway came in, 117th has become an absolute freeway. They stomp on it from stoplight to stoplight. Police have been very good at doing the best they can. We invite all the police officers to sit in our driveways. We've asked them, come on, sit here, and.
It's a very difficult intersection when you're trying to turn onto 117th from Dayton Parkway.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
It's almost, you're just saying a prayer and going, because it's very hard to see. And with the cars traveling at a higher rate of speed than they probably should.
And that's it, and I've almost seen semis go into each other, but it looks like those stop signs are set back too far, So, okay, you stop at the stop sign and you go, and no, you're just diving into, but that's just my opinion. Okay, and any buildings that we have there, and I'm just throwing this out because I'm gonna be saying it again in a month, that we have subgroup lighting, if it's gonna be another large building, because you are staking out something there, and it looks like it's going to be a big building, and I probably have no plans for that yet. But there's a lot of Dayton activity going on when the people are trying to move out.
John, didn't we have, so they laid out a pretty solid idea what they were doing. And I don't know if that was in the last agenda, or?
Yeah, so last council meeting, July 9th? No, I don't remember what the date was. But we had a council plan commission work session where we reviewed a concept plan for Forgent. So Forgent is leasing half of the Cubes building, 500,000 square feet. They're a manufacturer of, I want to say transformers and
Big honking electrical box.
big giant electrical boxes. They are proposing this project across the street. It'll be a 350,000 square foot building. It'll be an addition onto very similar to what they do in the Cubes building.
So it'd be subdued lighting, so we won't be blasted.
Yeah, oh,
I can
sure,
address
well.
that at some point here. I'm happy to
Okay.
discuss more with you, okay?
Okay.
And again, I don't want to get too far into details
Yep,
because
I
we'll
don't
have
wanna-
another public hearing
I
on
don't want to ask you
this. Yeah.
questions that you don't know answers
Yep.
to, so, okay, I thank you. I just thank you for your time, and I'll leave it. No, thanks, guys.
Thank you for coming.
I'm assuming you're the applicant?
I'm representing the applicant
Yes.
this evening. My name is Josh McKinney with Measure Group, civil engineer and landscape architecture firm aiding the applicant. We hear you completely regarding buffering. John has done a great job of indicating to us how important the visuals are to this project. We spent a lot of time, energy, and future money to buffer this project. I'm looking forward to speaking to that in greater detail when we come forward with that formal application, but we hear you, we get it. I will absolutely speak with these residents after this meeting too, to just make sure they have the correct information and have any questions they have answered either right away or via email after they get an opportunity to view the plans. So, yeah, I guess I just wanted to make sure to introduce myself and just say we understand, we get it. It's an important project for Forgent, I know. And we're just trying to figure out the best way to kind of merge all these competing priorities. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer at a broad level, but I think John's correct. It's probably more appropriate to look at some of these site-specific items at the next meeting.
And I think just from looking at the land use rate, you're wanting it to fit in because of the type of operation Forgent wants to do.
Correct. Yep. The adjacency to Forgent is incredibly important. The existing Forgent operations is incredibly important to this new facility. So.
I think that's all.
Thank you.
Good evening. I guess I do have something to say. My name is Stephanie Johnson. Address is 17100, 117th Avenue North. I'm a neighbor of Joanne, and Eggert's property that we're talking about is across the road from me. I'm just concerned also about the holding pond, the huge pond that they have on their property flows into my pond that I have on my property. And if that goes away, I guess I'm going to have a big hole in my backyard there. But I'm also concerned about the racetrack, 117th. They're crazy. Cars are nuts. And sometimes they don't even stop on East French Lake Road. They're coming up, from the Graco side, and that's just a straight shot to East French Lake Road where they have to stop. There's a stop sign there. I watched one car I could see his brake lights, but boom, he just kept right on going. Just expressing my concern about the traffic. I would like to see Dayton Parkway and 117th as a three-way stop. So cars going east, cars going west, they have to stop at Dayton Parkway besides the stop sign at Dayton Parkway. That would help.
Is that something that we can bring to the chief?
Thank you.
Speeding?
Get his-
Many council meetings, speeding is brought up on every street.
Okay.
in
Yeah,
Dayton.
the intersection she's talking about is another one of the scary intersections. Looking to the east, you have a very good line of sight. Looking to the west, cars down around, they come flying around that corner and up that hill, and there's the Parkway, right?
Right.
And I think that would probably be an excellent candidate for a three-way stop.
Good.
That's my opinion, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mine. Thank you.
I think that would be a better directive instead of the chief to Jason to look at of implementing some sort of traffic control.
Yeah, because the line of sight looking down that hill around that corner off from the Parkway to go west on 117th is not good at all. Add to the fact that something that, and I know this isn't for you guys, but I guess there's something that I was looking at it today, is that the property along 117th, behind the cubes, we talked to them last year, and Marty had them clear out the brush and the weeds that are,
Well,
which, hinders your line of sight looking that direction. If you go over there now, it looks like they've been growing ever since they cut them last year. So no one is apparently, on a routine basis, taking care of that hillside on the back of the parking lot at the cubes. So whoever wants to
we can, I'd
give Marty.
like to kind of stick with the comp plan amendment.
I'm just bringing it up.
Yep.
You just walk with it.
All right. All right, anyone else on the public hearing?
No.
front? All right, 9:27, I'll close the public hearing. So in my mind, comprehensive plan amendment is pretty straightforward. We're not changing the underlying use today. That's the next meeting. It's the future use and guided use, so. I don't know if you have any further discussions.
The only concern I have is what effect does it have on the folks that live in the area that you're changing the use on for the future? What does it do for their taxes? What does it do for the resale value of their agricultural / residential along French Lake Road? I don't know what the answer to that is, so.
I couldn't answer on the property values. So again, this is specific to the square of these three properties. Right now, the comprehensive plan guides a portion of the neighboring property as industrial and a portion of it as commercial. So if you have someone that wants to buy a house, along East French Lake Road and live there forever, like we've only guided it as something else.
John?
Yeah.
You said there was two categories, mixed or guided use, that have light industrial.
Yep.
Was there, what was the other one, mixed use?
Business park.
Business park.
Yeah.
So why would you choose one over the other?
The applicant is requesting industrial, and industrial gives them a little bit more leeway to have, I'm going to say, a heavier use than business park. Like business park could be office showroom, it might be manufacturing, it might be a furniture, like a wholesale furniture store. Industrial, you're going to be looking more at whether it's manufacturing or warehousing.
Even though they both allow light industrial
Yes.
for zoning? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and again, the project that's going to come in fits both. The developer is going to own this building and lease it to Fortune. And so the developer is probably looking at what is the long-term use of this 30 years from now. Hopefully Fortune's still there, but they might not be.
Okay.
So comprehensive plan, and this is just another clarity to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Dennis. Comprehensive plan, we kind of have to pick in business park or industrial tonight to make this project work.
Correct.
And then, depending on what we do tonight, we'd look at light industrial or business park, but the applicant's asking for the industrial.
Correct.
We would go to we'd probably lean towards light industrial at this point in time.
You don't have to make that decision until next month.
Well,
Yeah.
What you're asking for is everything that's in the light blue there to be changed,
No.
right? Or just everything that's in the black?
Just in the dotted
square.
line.
Okay.
I'm looking for a motion.
I guess I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion supporting the resolution amending the 2040 comprehensive plan related to the future land use plan at 17051 117th Avenue to guide that property as industrial.
I'll second that motion. So we have a motion and a second.
You think you meant properties.
Properties.
It's, yeah, there's 3 parcels.
Don't want to get hung up 10 years from now.
3 parcels, 1 address.
Yeah.
3 parcels, 1 address, right? Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 3-0. All right,
What's next?
850, or not 855, 8E.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a public hearing for an ordinance to amend the city code regarding parking regulations and in residential districts related to the minimum garage size. This is a carryover conversation from a couple months ago, and I apologize that just haven't had a time to do significant research to do this. So, as the commission may recall, we had an ordinance amendment a couple months ago, related to the minimum garage size of slab-on home townhomes. And through that discussion, the commission directed staff to prepare an ordinance, or at least just a discussion, on the minimum garage size of everywhere. So I'm making a request that the commission continue to table this.
Any discussion? I guess, John, one of the things that's been running through my mind on this, and maybe just to give clarity to folks in the room of where my head's at, is we see no issue with custom-built homes.
Mhm.
But not everyone can afford a custom-built home. We see no issue with, we see a lot of issue with, I see a lot of issues with some of the national builders that are coming in and doing the larger projects. And it's very similar conversations to the Brayburn Hills of, well, you didn't tell me that was an option, or you didn't tell me that was going in, because they don't disclose it. So that's where my hang-up is.
Sure.
Is I want the minimum size in our code to be something that's reasonable. And I want the developers to come in and say why they can't meet that. Then it's on record that, hey, this is what we're putting in, and it's going in every home. And that's kind of where my head is at, because it's not transparent when you're going to build with a Lennar what size garage depth you're going to get, even if you look at their plans. So if you haven't built with a national builder, it's almost like going to a vending machine and you pick what's in there from a sandwich. You're not getting to move an outlet or a wall or like everyone thinks you can. And so it's not really a choice. And to me, this is a hang up of a lot of people who've built with nationals is, well, I wish I could have done that. I wish I could have done a little bit bigger garage. And it's one I hear a lot. So
Sure.
that's kind of where my head's at.
I wish my driveway was wider.
Yeah. But,
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, the direction to the staff would just be, I mean, I would like to see just like a canvassing of other municipalities and how they deal with this.
Yep,
and
so
what the rationale is.
what my plan is eventually when this comes back to the commission, is I'll have I'm going to say a sample of what's been built in Dayton over the past 5 years, as well as a comparison to what other cities require for garages. And, you know, I have a larger garage. I like it, but it's not big enough. So
Yep, they never are.
It's different for everyone.
And part of me is looking at like, right, we also talk about wanting aesthetics and not having garage fronts, like of the house being a garage front. Well, I know there's some homes in this community that have a 1 foot support wall, 16-foot garage, or a 1 foot support wall, and then 4 foot house entrance, right? That's not what we want, and I think that's one of the things where if you say the garage has to be 20 feet wide, now you're gonna start to get some facade on the sides of the garage. You're gonna have to because of the dimensions. You're not getting that 1 foot just support wall there, right? So thinking about it just in context of practicality, yeah, garage doors are 8 and 16 feet, and how to maximize that so then we don't get just the garage wall with a builder.
You know, I think my only concern with that is, I think I'd be okay with this for the most part on the bigger homes, but when you have these villas, a lot of them just they don't even want a two-stall garage. So if you could somehow deal with that, I really don't like us mandating those kind of things, but at the same time, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Especially with that, you know, that does kind of force a look.
It forces a look, and what I see out of the national builders is almost the opposite, Dennis, of where we give them a bare minimum and that's what they're meeting.
Yeah.
And you know, I'd have no problem if people wanted a 1-stall garage and we get 60 feet wide of house versus a 2-stall garage and we're at 30 whatever feet. You know, more house, right? That's the essence there, or more house frontage.
Or the other side of the coin is you have a bare minimum and they come in and they want less, which is what started this whole conversation in the first place, with a conflict in the different areas of the code.
Sounds like a great conversation when we
hear
this.
Anyways, just wanted to put that out there. So staff is requesting to table this. I'll make a motion to table this item.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Item 8F.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this is also a request to table. We have direction to prepare an ordinance amendment related to temporary signage. I've not had a chance to work on this at all. One of the challenges that we have is, as staff, is we have to make a decision 3 weeks ahead of time if we're going to have a public hearing or not. And so that's guessing how much time we're going to have to work on a project, and sometimes we're wrong. You know, I've been wrong with these last 2 projects. So again, I'm asking the Planning Commission to table this item, and we'll see if we can get to it next month.
I don't have a problem tabling the item, because obviously you need more time to work on it.
Yeah.
We don't have anything in front of us to vote on. But the developers understand what's going on with us here. That's why you're seeing that crap right there.
Yeah.
And it's all over the place. It's popping up there, growing like dandelions in your backyard that you don't want. All those signs are in violation of our current sign ordinance.
Are they?
Yeah, they are, because they're more than 32 square feet. Add them up. This is in addition to the sign they have down at the end of the road that's already 8 by 32.
But the 32 isn't cumulative, I don't think.
And
I think it's per sign.
No, it's
and are we counting
no, but
per
you can't
parcel
have
on a
multiple
development?
signs on the same property.
Well, not if they've already parceled out the properties. Those are different parcels.
They aren't.
There's some great temporary sign ordinances out there. I'll just leave it at that. But what you should consider, what we should consider, is some of these exceptions for things such as like development that's happening, right? We don't want to handcuff a developer and not being able to promote their development, but we also don't want to see a sign every 50 feet. right, so.
Or,
They already have a sign at the end of this road.
Right.
That's the-
No, I
that's
get it,
the-
that's what I'm saying, I wouldn't want to see that either, but there should be
This
some
is-
consideration made for, allowing some kind of advertisement of what's going on there.
Yeah, this is all along 113th,
Yeah.
it's all along 117th.
Yeah,
It would be a great discussion.
that'd be a great discussion.
What? But these were all issues that Hayden was dealing with a year ago.
Yeah.
This particular parcel of property here started in December with his contact with them. Or at least that's what I was led to believe. I have no reason not to think that. There were 3 signs at the beginning of 113th off from Fernbrook. Each of the 3 signs were as big as one sign should have been.
Right.
So there were 3 of them, and they moved 1. And they moved it to a different place down on 113th. And now they moved 2, but they still have the big sign, plus all these, plus they have flags with their Lennar, all along 121. Every one of those is another sign. And the way I read the code, I was looking at it this afternoon. It took me a while to find it because it's kind of buried in there. But I don't see that they are capable of having multiple signs on the same property. I think it's one sign. And if they have another major road going in, they can have another sign on that major road. And that's the way it was described to me by Hayden before.
We'll have a
And
good
that's-
discussion.
That's what we were working off from, but these guys have just basically told us,
I
you know
guess
what?
I thought they did this because it was a hole in the ordinance. I
No.
don't remember the one per property, but, yeah, they will find a way.
They've,
And, yeah,
They have good attorneys for reasons.
Yeah.
So again, Mr. Chair, I'm looking for a motion to table.
all right, I will make a motion to table.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
promise us you won't be asking us again to table this.
I can't do that.
Now you got, somebody you gotta sign?
Yes.
Yeah,
there
there you go.
I'll just copy Sioux Falls as wholesale. They're
There you go.
super strict.
There you go.
They've banned the temporary political ones in boulevards.
Yeah, you can't do that in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's,
That ain't gonna happen. As irritating as that might be too.
Item 9.
Official updates, notices and announcements. City of Dayton has an official city app. I understand the commission is well aware of this, but I'm going to keep repeating it every month. Play Place is every Tuesday at the Activity Center. Deal, Dice, and Dominoes on the second and fourth Wednesday afternoon at the Activity Center. We have an embedded social worker who's available on the third Wednesday of the month to the public at the Dayton Police Department, 3 to 5 p.m., again, third Wednesday of the month. 113th Avenue is closed. This is, I think we're at the tail end of week 2 of a 3-week project. Jason?
It's closed, but it isn't closed.
I don't remember the length of it. Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's right. I think we're 1 into the 3.
And then I don't remember, will that reopen again, or will it?
Yes.
It'll reopen?
Yeah, it'll be open, it's being reconstruction, it'll be open between, Glacier, I think that's the farthest east, and
Yep.
then all the way to the golf course.
Okay. Giant slip and slide tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So this is perfect for you guys. This will be at L.C. Stevens, will be across from L.C. Stevens Park at the sledding hill.
I was gonna say, it might make the car show kind of wet on the other side.
It could.
If it was on the other side.
And right after there, the slip and slide will be the Dayton Community Car Show from, what time is that? 5 p.m. till dusk. So the next one is tomorrow night, August 7th, and then the last one will be August 21st.
And tomorrow night's the Riverfest one, the big one.
Okay.
yeah, I thought, didn't it go to 10?
It's dusk.
Yeah, I thought it got extended back.
Oh, for Riverfest?
Yeah, for the band.
Okay.
I just don't think they changed the poster.
Yeah.
It's just the same poster that they,
I've been using the same poster for 3-4 months.
I think, yeah. I don't think they changed it.
Monday evening Adult Bags League, so this will be at, I can't read here. It will be in Dayton. So the first one begins August 10th. Please contact or look at the city's website or contact the Public Works Department if interested. Primary election is coming up on Tuesday, August 11th. That will be at City Hall. Well, it'll be, yes, at your polling place between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. I don't want to say the wrong information, but.
Early voting is at City Hall.
Early voting is at City Hall. The next Hennepin County Swap It event will be Saturday, August 15th, and that will be at Mount Olivet Lutheran Church in Minneapolis. Adopt a park. We still have several parks that are available for anyone that would like to adopt and pick up litter. Flower pots in Old Town. We have several that are available for sponsorship. It's $125 per growing season. We have sponsor a dog treat station that's still going on. Hennepin County is conducting testing of their outdoor sirens. I'm pretty sure they're done with it, but I've heard a couple more recently. So this is an older map of showing the coverage that really doesn't cover Dayton, but we do have sirens in Dayton.
It rattles my windows, sirens.
Oh, it's right outside.
It works well.
The Giving Garden is set up outside of City Hall, so this is for anyone that may have excess vegetables to donate. Community play equipment, so throughout the parks listed on here, there's a box that has balls and sports equipment that are available for the public to use and return. Little Free Library was constructed recently at Station 1 in the village. Elevate Hennepin. This is a program that Dayton participates with. It's great for small businesses that are starting up. The EDA is continuing to market land in Old Town for redevelopment. And then we had 20 single-family home permits in the month of July, so that is about what we expect average-wise. So the numbers kind of ebb and flow, and this reflects that. Next Plan Commission meeting will be Thursday, September 3rd. We have 8 and potentially 9 items on there, so we'll see if I've got time to tackle ordinance amendments. But I'll do my best. That's all I have.
All right. Anyone have anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Meeting is adjourned.